The Sporting Chance podcast is brought to you by Ashley Clark Falconry, makers of fine, exquisite leather goods. Use the code SportingChance10 for a 10% discount at checkout.
And also, Midnight Falconry, makers of the tightest braided equipment on the market.
Where can you find him?
Anywhere. He's all around us.
Instagram?
He's always with us.
He's with us now.
He's with us right now. Richard Moats is the owner. You can DM him on any social media platform, but his page and his business name is Midnight Falconry. Very good equipment.
And tell him Casey and Aaron sent you.
Yeah.
And also, North Mountain Goshawks. The one and only Seth Roy is breeding true parent-reared goshawks and imprints as well. I know you can't see it right now, but I'm holding one, and it's behaving like a dream come true. Welcome to the Sporting Chance podcast. I am Aaron Kincaid.
And I'm Casey Everett.
And today we will be joined by Jason Norman. We will let Jason introduce himself, but we want to warm up and catch up with each other.
Yeah, let's do it, man. We had a pretty eventful weekend. We had a slumber party together.
Yep.
By ourselves. It was very nice.
That's very sexy.
very, very romantic. We went up to Seth Roy's house. It's not really a house, more of a compound. And it was a dual purpose trip. I brought up an eagle owl from Tom Cullen in Goshen, New York, that does the falconry experience, and he breeds all sorts of different owls and exotic birds, as well as Harris hawks and gyr falcons. He has all different kinds of owls. So I picked the owl up for Aaron, which Aaron's getting. So I brought it up there, and then Aaron brought up. Want to tell us what you brought up? You brought up a couple dogs.
Yeah, I arranged the transportation of some lurchers from Idaho to North Carolina. From North Carolina, they were distributed to South Carolina, New York, and a couple of them stayed here. And that's the problem with those dogs, is there's really none on the East Coast at this point in time. Well, there are now, but as I understand, back in the 70s and the 80s, they were a little more popular here.
You're referring to lurchers, right?
Yeah, lurchers. Teddy had a lurcher from probably the most famous lurcher breeder in the world, who I'm assuming has probably passed away at this point. His name was David Hancock. He's a British guy. He wrote some books about lurchers. He was friends with Brian Plummer. And she actually went to England and got a Hancock lurcher and brought it back.
That's awesome.
She said a lot of good things about that dog.
Yeah, my only experience with lurchers is our former guest on the show.
Friend of the show,
supporter of the show, probably listening right now as we speak. Henry, his lurcher, Marshall. That dog is impressive, and if they're all even half of what that dog is, I'd love to have one.
I think the cool thing with lurchers is you can kind of mold them to what you need them to be. So Sean out in Idaho, he breeds lurchers predominantly for hunting coyotes out there.
That's cool.
On the East Coast, you might be able to catch a coyote here and there, but it'd be really tough for one to run them down on the terrain we have out there. Yeah. Just on the wide open plains, they can just cut them loose and run, for miles and miles.
Very little. What's the deal with like barbed wire fences? Did the dog see it, or is that like a huge risk out there?
We'll have to talk to Sean about that. He confirmed today that he'll come on the show.
Perfect.
It can't be too big of a problem or they wouldn't do it. I think they probably jumped the fence.
But when they're running like 45 miles an hour, can they even see it? I guess the coyote would make a maneuver around it. Mm-hmm. And you would hope that your dogs would pick up on that and see that there was an obstruction and try to, like, you ever see that video of the sow grizzly bear charging the truck? Mm-hmm. And there's a 4-strand barbed wire fence and she's like running full speed, and then she like tucks and goes right through the middle of it.
Yeah,
like,
she just squirts between the wires.
yeah,
She
and then
knows
comes
what she's
out,
doing.
and the guy like floors it like he was terrified. I'm like, you're in a truck, dude. Like, just film. It's cool.
It's worth the damage to your truck for the good video, right?
Yeah, for me, if I went out there on like vacation, forget about it. It'd be so cool. But you see that scratch right there, dude? That's from
Yeah,
a
I'd leave
grizzly
it.
bear.
Yeah, I would definitely leave it.
Stick your arm out the window, get a little chewed up a little, and then just
Take the tip of my finger.
yeah. Good story to tell when you're hanging out with the guys.
Yeah, those things scare me.
Oh yeah, it's crazy, man.
I think it might be the scariest animal on earth.
No, sharks are.
You don't think crocodiles?
I think anything that submerges them. I think sharks are even more scary than crocodiles because first of all, like crocodiles are cool because they're reptiles. But like you kind of know where they live, and like if you're in Florida, you don't go splashing around in the middle of a lake. You know what I mean? Like there's kind of things. But like a shark can grab you if you're like waist deep in the ocean, rip your leg off without you even knowing it was there. I mean, an alligator could probably do the same thing too. But like if you're in the ocean, technically you're not safe at all, even unless your toe is in.
I saw a video today on Facebook. Actually, it was yesterday. That in the North Territory in Australia, there was an Aboriginal girl who was swimming in a creek that was taken by a croc.
Well, I mean, don't do that.
Those people have been swimming in creeks, prehistory. They've.
It's true. Yeah.
So I don't know. The saltwater crocodiles and grizzly bears, I think, are about as scary. And I would not touch water in saltwater crocodile territory.
You don't have to touch it. If you get within 3 feet of it, you're fair game.
I saw there's one of those When Animals Attack specials on TV.
Yeah.
And there was the segment on crocodiles. There were some dudes who were fishing and they were on a boat that was, up off the water. It wasn't like a little metal John boat or something. They were in like a big boat that had like a deck below and all that stuff. This dude was at night, they were fishing, and this dude was like standing near the edge of the boat, probably like, 6 feet off the water, right? All of a sudden, he hears this explosion and something scratches him on the shoulder. A crocodile jumped up and just barely missed him and grazed his shoulder.
Holy crap, dude. That's insane.
He just had one single cut from like one tooth that's scratched him like on the back of the shoulder.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine that? You're standing in a boat in the middle of the night. You think you're safe, and then all of a sudden, boom, you just get snatched out and you're being death rolled in black water. It gives me chills thinking about it.
No, yeah, but sharks don't give you chills. Sharks are. It's the same. Well, yeah, I guess the alligators, because they can get you on land too.
Sharks are like a Roomba. They just kind of bump around and, maybe kill you, maybe don't.
Yeah.
Crocodiles are smart, calculating. They make a plan. They see you and they lay back in the water and sit there and watch you and wait for their opportunity. Sharks are just cruising around the ocean. They see something they want to kill. If they're hungry, they go for it.
You ever see the videos of the guys like cliff jumping with the GoPro, and he jumps in the water, and when he hits the water and the bubbles clear, there's a freaking giant great white like right in front of him.
Yeah.
And he screams, and then under the water he's like with the bubble. and then he's swimming, and then it swims up to him to check him out, and he like screams again. He's like and he like sticks his hands out in front of him. Like that's, to me, like I watch those videos and I instantly just I get goosebumps all over my body, like just in pure terror. Like it's so scary to me.
I think part of it too is that sharks don't prey on humans naturally.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's what they want you to believe, I guess. So they don't hate.
That's the big shark industry trying to protect sharks.
Yeah, the propaganda they put out.
Shark lobbyists put that out.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense because they would not have evolved to eat people.
No, crocodiles would.
Crocodiles did and would, yeah,
and still do.
And there's parts of Africa where they're annihilating people every single day.
Yeah, man, Africa's a rough place to live.
Hasn't RFK done some work with wells and stuff like that in Africa?
It's a very good question.
We should ask him when he comes on.
Yeah, he'll come on. We'll get him on eventually. It's already in the works.
That's why you got to get with the Sporting Chance. Season 1, get in early, be a supporter.
Get in on the ground floor. Cost you nothing.
Yeah, because
free.
Absolutely. Before we start the Patreon.
Yeah. All we ask is you just share the podcast with some friends. We're just doing it we're just doing it for fun. At the end of the day,
just doing it to stroke our egos. That's all you gotta do. Stroke our ego. That's totally free.
Yeah.
And you get this podcast.
In all seriousness, we're just trying to have fun and get good guests on. And if you've noticed that the guests that we have on are people that we're just, for the most part, just genuinely interested in, and we think it'd be a fun conversation. We're not, like we could get like the big name falconers out there and like do all that, but we just want to talk to people that really maybe not have been talked to yet. And we'll get some of the guys that have been on other podcasts on. We have already, but it's just whoever tickles our fancy, whoever wets our whistle, that's who we're getting. That's who we're getting on.
That's right.
Just having fun.
So we got very off track there. We were talking about going up to Seth Roy's, sponsor of the shows.
Yes.
Yeah, I dropped off those lurchers that were bred in Idaho. That was a big headache. To anyone out there listening, if you commit to a dog, follow through with it, okay? So if you say, I want the dog, follow through with that. Unless something happens. If something happens, that's okay. Just let the person know, hey, my transmission went out my truck. Now's not a good time. But I can't tell you how many people fell off the face of the earth when they said they wanted a dog. We talked for days about it, and then all of a sudden they're gone. So if you commit to a dog, take the damn dog, okay? Otherwise, just keep your mouth shut. You can inquire about the dog if you want, but don't tell someone you're going to take it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would say that all the raptor breeders out there are probably saying the same thing right now, because I hear that a lot from them, that they get a lot of people that commit to birds and then just flake out at the last minute, and now they're stuck with this bird.
Told us some of that.
Yeah, that's rough. For like, you trust somebody and then you get stiff. It's rough. Any business is rough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure you can relate in the plumbing business.
Yeah. Well, I don't do anything unless I get a fat deposit, and if they're not willing to give me a fat deposit, then I'm walking out the door. No problem.
Yeah. So dropped off the lurchers, picked up my new goshawk that I'm holding right now, and it's insane that a week ago this bird saw a human being for the first time.
I know, and he's just sitting there he's not super calm. He's looking at you with the side eye, with suspicion.
Yeah, his wings aren't comfortable, but he's sitting here and he's not baiting.
He's not baiting, and he's not in spaz mode, just staring off into space. He's like looking at you. He's watching your hand move right now as you're touching your face, and he's not. You know what I mean? He's like he's wary of you, but he's not like a passage goshawk. That's kind of, I would say a passage goshawk at this stage in a week probably wouldn't be as tamed down as this. I mean, each bird is different, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. But I would, they really do. Like, if you follow the curriculum that Seth gives you, and I'm sure Lance gives you, when you get a true chamber bird from these types of people, and I've seen it with my own eyes. I mean, they're the calmest goshawks that money can buy. Like, they're a passage that's calmer than any harrowstalk you'll ever see. Zero mantling, zero aggression, just sits there with its wings tucked while it's on a fresh kill.
No defensiveness. It's the strangest thing.
Yeah, it's almost like, I don't know if you told me from your bird last year, or if it was Ian Anderson, but like, it almost seems like he was telling me, I think, that like, it seems like the bird doesn't even know how to mantle. Like, it doesn't even think of doing it when you're around. It's just, you're just there to help it, and knows that, which is super cool,
I think part of my success too is staying very close to them. I don't put them out in a chamber outside. Being able to keep them indoors, I think, makes a big difference. You said you've seen other chamber raised goshawks that were kept in a muse, and they just weren't that tame, right?
Yeah, it didn't really seem to calm down. It could have been the bird itself too, because the bird seemed to just not progress and not develop properly. I mean, if you think about it statistically, there's got to be a percentage of captive bred birds that are meant to just die the same way they would be in the wild.
Well, what's interesting? Yeah.
Look, Aaron just offered him a quail leg, and he just bent his head down and started eating on the glove, and he's looking at you, taking a little bite, looking back at you.
This is the first time he's ever been on the glove.
That's great. That's pretty cool, man. Yeah, I already am sold on getting one. I just have a problem.
In the other room.
Yeah, in the other room. I have an issue. I think I just really do. A gentleman had an extra bird. Don't call me and tell me you have an extra bird,
because he'll buy it.
Because if we'll go back and forth a little on price, and dude, the bird it's ridiculous. Like 12, 13 days old. I was like, let's just do it. Let's do it. And he put it in the, I mean, it was very nice of him. Put it in the mail before even I mailed him the check, and he put it in the mail, the next day. And so I have a new imprint. But I like to have two birds, and that's the biggest thing I've seen. Like I made a little post like introducing the bird. It's a 3/4 albitus, 1/4 fin, and she's super beautiful. I mean, I like to have two goshawks. Goshawks have a tendency to kill themselves, whether it's in the field or getting sick and stuff like that. Luckily, I've never lost a bird to any type of illness. Thank God, knock on wood. But I like to have two goshawks because I think you could push one and just go. I mean, I did it last year. I've done it for a while. But having two birds is nice because then you can alternate and you can put one away, pull the other one out. You can crop one up and have a really nice, relaxing hunt. And then not, when you have an addiction to hawking, sometimes it's not necessarily fair to the bird, and it's not fair to yourself because if you're skimping out on it's about what you want to do, what your goals are. You know what I mean? So I think the right thing to do is to hawk, catch something, give your bird a nice big crop to reward that, the successful hunt, and then pull out the other bird the next day and go hawk with the other bird. And then when the other bird's back down to weight, fly that bird. But instead you find yourself, and I'm sure a lot of hardcore, game hawkers that have the same issue that I do, they find themselves curtailing their trade-off piece based off of if they can go hunting the next day, which is fine. But if you do it every day, every single hunt, it's like at a certain point, it's not like, because if you start the week off and the bird's at hunting weight and you end the week and the bird's at hunting weight, it's not really the same thing. It's different because that bird's been at hunting weight for a full 5-day work week or whatever. It's not getting a chance to crop up and rebuild muscle and grow. I don't know. It's a good discussion to have. And I don't know if I'm right or if I'm wrong, but I do like those big white birds though. They are fun. They are clumsy and they're not really necessarily the best suited bird for my habitat that we hawk in. The North American clearly is. I hawked less days in the field and ended a month early and killed more game than I've ever killed in my life in one season. And so the North American is clearly designed to hunt in this type of cover. But when you see a big albitus bird just crush a duck or rip a squirrel out of a tree and just, it's just like
they shine on the wing for sure.
Oh, well, yeah, by far. I mean, it's a different bird. They're flying with, they're a completely different bird, the albitus goshawk. And they are so unique and so cool. And there's really not too much known about them, to be honest. If you do any type of research on them, and if there's any listener out there that knows of an article or something interesting from a biologist that you could share, whether message me on Instagram or Facebook, or if you have my number, because I would love to learn more about them. So we were also thinking about having a guest on that's actually studied them and was part of bringing the first ones into the country and how that whole process went. And I think it'd be pretty fun to have somebody on that knew a lot about them. And not to mention, there's a biologist in Alaska that has witnessed with his own eyes white goshawks in Alaska, which makes perfect sense because it's 55 or 58 miles across that body of water to Russia. To Siberia. So it really doesn't make any sense why they wouldn't be in Alaska, which is the coolest freaking thing in the world.
It makes total sense. But something I just thought of would be really crazy. What if he's seeing these white goshawk or like a population of white goshawks, and it's like a leucistic North American goshawk?
All the breeders just perked up. Like, where are they? I mean, you never know. There's leucistic
I have
red
no
tails.
doubt that there's been leucistic goshawks. No doubt.
That'd be pretty cool.
Probably. I mean, I don't think owned by a falconer unless somebody back in the day had one and they just didn't really talk about it. But I know if somebody had one today, we would know about it.
Everybody would know.
It would have its own Instagram account.
Yeah, nowadays, right?
Yeah. So Casey he got a new bird, and I got a new bird. We had the privilege of going to Seth's house and seeing his goshawk facilities, and they are top notch. They are just no expense spared, like Jurassic Park, where John Hammond keeps going, no expense spared. No expense. We spared no expense. He spared no expense on his goshawk facilities. So this is kind of turning into a long ad for Seth. So if you need a chamber raised goshawk, talk to Seth. Full disclosure, I also have one from Lance, who also has a facility that spared no expense. He's another phenomenal breeder. Both really great guys, knowledgeable guys.
They work in conjunction with each other.
Yeah, I don't think there's any competition. They sell a lot of birds every year. It's not like they have leftovers.
The line, like the genetics that Seth has, some of them are his own, and then some of them are he's partnered with Lance to keep those good genetics and keep them going and breeding to only certain stock. And I mean, Seth's got birds that literally have a band on their leg from Finland that says Finland on it, which is super unique. Because you get a fin nowadays, you don't know. I mean, what exactly is it? I can't really tell you. It's just a fin. It's a European, but the birds that Lance and Seth sell. I mean, a goshawk is a goshawk. So this is no shade towards any other breeder. I've never flown a Seth bird or a Lance bird, but I have seen the facility and I've seen, how seriously they take the genetics and where they get their birds from and stuff like that. And it just seems like it's a very intensely, like the Coulsons do it with the Harris hawks, right? Like they only breed to proven game hawks from a certain genetic line, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not saying there's other breeders out there, but there are, of course. There's other breeders that are just throwing birds together, putting semen in this one and that one, and getting whatever. And they're all going to be,
they're spraying semen here, they're spraying it there.
Well, it's whatever male is donating and whatever female is presenting.
Yeah, whatever they got.
If you want to, some people will hold out and just not produce that year if it doesn't line up, and other people will just throw this semen into that bird and that bird, and there's literally nothing wrong with that because you're going to clean up regardless. If you raise and enter the bird correctly, it's not like you're going to notice a difference whatsoever. And I can attest to that. You could just, you get a 50-50 this, 3/4 that, whatever. I mean, I'm hoping my 3/4 bird does well. I can't imagine she would. I would imagine that she's going to progress a lot slower. The albitus birds seem to take a lot longer to get entered on game. The fastest bird I had was a tiercel Russian albitus. He caught game insanely fast. I think we were actively catching game in September, and I got him in July. So that was pretty fast considering I was always flying these European birds until that point. Well, he's a European bird too, but he was a tiercel. So they I guess genetically and from a natural history standpoint, they really have to progress. Otherwise they just die. But the albitus birds seem almost kind of like how an eagle would take longer to progress. The albitus bird seem to just take a longer time to get in the groove of things. And that might be because of where they're from, their size. I'd love to find out more about it. I'm not claiming
they're just different. That's the cool thing about goshawks is all of these different subspecies are truly different birds.
Yeah.
We had talked about up there that Finnish goshawks, which is I think part of the reason Seth and Lance put such a big emphasis on true Finnish birds, is that they'll raise their young in town. There's nests in cities there.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works.
Which is not what goshawks do, as Casey knows firsthand experience. They nest in very remote, hillsides in the mountains, far away from people as possible.
Yeah, yeah.
They may be the more docile of goshawks.
They 100% they are. They really are. I don't
I
think
know
that's up for debate.
my female, her mom is an import from Finland, and Casey knows, he's seen her. She's super chill, super laid back bird.
Yeah,
She was the one selling everybody on chamber raised birds up at the Jersey meet. They were like random people knocking on my door going, "Hey man, can I see your bird?" And they walk in and she's just sitting on a perch doing her little fist bump.
The little
got her leg
hanging.
pulled up with her toes clenched, and they walk in and they're like, "I can't believe this. This is crazy."
Yeah, we were having drinks, just hanging out in your room, and she's just on a perch in the corner with a tarp, just hanging out watching us, ready to hunt the next day.
Shitting all over the hotel room.
Yeah, that poor hotel gets abused every year. It's ridiculous.
They got to be used to it. Yeah,
they gotta be. Otherwise, they wouldn't let us come back every year. Yeah. So, yeah, man. Anything else you want to cover before we get into this interview?
Nope. Let's get into the interview.
Let's do it. Hey!
Oh, what is up?
Welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Good to have you.
Excited.
Good to meet you, Jason.
I hadn't met Aaron yet, so it's good to meet you, Aaron.
Yeah, you too, man.
We were just talking about Jurassic Park.
One of the best movies ever made, I think.
We were talking about a goshawk facility and how they spared no expense. We spared no expense.
As John Hammond would say.
I love it. It's one of my favorites. It came out the year I was born.
Oh, exactly damn, you're young.
Wait, how old? Wait, when did that come out?
I'm 31. Came out in 1993.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was 3 years old.
I saw it in theaters.
You saw it in theaters?
Yeah.
I'm just jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was awesome. Nowadays,
I was scared shitless when that T-Rex was sniffing the car.
Dude, the kitchen scene with the kids and the
dude, that got me as a kid
and
too.
The raptors, that was the scariest part of the whole movie to me.
Oh, for sure.
My dad had a good point about that. He said they're cold-blooded. They wouldn't blow condensation on the window.
Yeah, right.
Thanks,
so
Dad.
Dinosaurs are reptiles then, huh?
I guess, or they're birds. We don't really know.
That's what I was saying.
I don't know.
If the dinosaurs are reptiles and birds are actually dinosaurs, then birds are reptiles.
I don't know. Do they know now? Because
they're pretty
reptilian. They're just avian reptiles. That's all they really are.
They kick around that they may have had feathers. They definitely don't look as cool when they depict them with feathers.
I don't know. It depends on. There was a dinosaur documentary put out on like Apple TV Plus or whatever, and it was pretty good. They had lots of dinosaurs with feathers. I thought they looked pretty.
Is that the one where they're like they're showing them like breeding and chasing each other around?
Breeding, like the T-Rex is flirting or something.
Yeah, they're like flirting with each other.
Corny, but there was like a whole scene in there where like these raptors were hunting these like other birds or dinosaurs that were nesting on a cliffside. It was really cool. And they all have these like really long tails with feathers all over.
I think they probably had feathers. Did you see that that guy up in Alaska that has the water cannon? Oh, there you go. He finally baited.
Are you manning something right now?
40 minutes in, he finally baited. Yeah, that's a new chamber raised Tiersolf.
Oh, awesome. Finish or what?
It's a cross. A little bit of everything.
Okay.
He's got my pinch of everything.
There's my goths right there behind me.
How's she doing?
She's doing a lot better, actually. We thought she had, at first I thought she had like Frounce or something like that, which is totally possible because I feed her mostly wild birds.
Right.
And I freeze them. But then the Frounce medication wasn't working. It wasn't like her appetite wasn't coming back. And so I'm like, something's wrong. Based on a few other symptoms she was having, I was like, it might be Asper. So I got a hold of a guy named Jerry here. He owns the Arizona Raptor Center, and he's been an awesome resource and kind of helped me work it through. And we kind of found that it was most likely just crop rot. I mean, it's 110 degrees out here.
That's super interesting.
It was most likely just crop rot, where she would just take too long to eat and it would rot in the crop there. And I mean, it's either that or Frounce, because now she's doing fantastic. She's dropping feathers like crazy. since I moved her inside. Her appetite's back up again, so I'm glad it wasn't Asper. I'm glad that I'm still she's still on the medication, but I'm just glad that she's on like the mend. Like
Yeah.
she's like her weight's going up. She's molting like crazy. I just hope that little bit of stress didn't like create some wicked fret marks. It may have, but
That's the fret marks are the least of your worries, man. Thank God
Yeah.
she's doing better. That's all that matters.
Yeah, she's alive, to be honest. So
Yeah.
she's very happy and comfortable inside. And it's funny because my wife works in this room, so like sit here on these like meetings, and so
Yeah.
like you can see her in the corner. So like during her meetings, there's the little hawk is right behind her.
Yeah, that's doesn't scream during her
funny.
meetings.
No, it doesn't. She doesn't scream at all anymore.
She shut. When did she stop screaming during your molt?
She stopped screaming before the molt. It was like near the end of the season. She just wouldn't scream anymore.
See that, everybody?
Oh,
you enter a bird well. You put a lot of game in front of it. They shut up. Sometimes it takes a couple seasons, but it's like every season they scream a little less and a little less. But some of them, like yours, and you had a very successful season with that bird, your first goshawk ever.
Yeah,
but I don't want to get into that yet. Let's chill, relax.
Here.
Let's go back in time.
I know we kind of started in the middle here. If this is going into the final recording.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say, the Jed's Bird Supply. You guys familiar with that?
Yes, I get all his. That's nice. I get all his pigeon. I use his pigeon like dewormers and stuff. They're perfectly fine for a goshawk.
They started carrying more raptor meds, so they have a asperzole for aspergillosis, maybe gillosis.
I was using asperzole where I am.
So they sell asperzole. They sell coccidia tablets. They sell things to treat Frounce, and then they have, where is it?
They got a dewormer too. I use every
year. There's a broad spectrum treatment that's like an antibiotic too, and it's made for raptors. I think it's a European product.
Yeah.
Cool.
So check that out. New sponsor of the show.
It could be. Yeah. It's funny.
All right, Jason, why don't you introduce yourself?
I guess my name's Jason Norman. Currently, I live in Arizona. I'm a falconer, been a falconer for, I think, 5 years now, or at least 5 seasons. So I've gone through at least 5 different birds. Well, maybe not. Yeah, it's been 5 birds now, or I have had 5 birds now.
Yeah.
I started in Utah, and then I moved to Arizona. And so it's been definitely a drastic change for how the winters are compared to Utah compared to Arizona. So the heat is insane. I think today it's 115 degrees.
Jeez, man, that's crazy.
And my Harris Hawks are like out in the back.
No wonder your goshawk's inside. All right, I'm going to get this goshawk out of here. You guys carry this on. I'll be right back.
Yeah, what are we doing here? Okay, so you've been a falconer for 5 years, 5 seasons. You've flown a couple different birds. I want to hear like the classic. How did you
got into it?
Yeah, because I know the story because we talk, but it's a fun story. It's cool.
Yeah, sure. I think it goes back even further when I was like really little, but at least by the time I could like read a chapter book, because growing up in elementary school, I would always read these books about dragons. I was really obsessed with dragons when I was really little. And man, my favorite books were always these books where the main character had some sort of like psychic connection with the dragon.
You talking about Aragon?
So, Aragon is probably the top one.
One of my favorite books.
There's called Jeremy Thatcher Dragon Hatcher was one. If you read that a long time ago, and another one is just called Dragon Rider. And all these characters kind of had this psychic kind of connection with it, where like I think Aragon was like the most kind of straightforward connection. Is like they could literally talk to each other in their own minds, where the other ones it was like more sending images and feelings like that. But I kind of like craved that connection. I always wanted to be that character.
Yeah.
As time went on, I got really into reptiles. I think my dragon obsession kind of went into my reptile obsession. and my dinosaur obsession. And so I got really obsessed with dinosaurs, the movie Jurassic Park, and I always loved going to all the dinosaur museums. And I love snakes. My parents didn't let me have very many animals when I was, in high school. I just had one ball python, and that's all I was allowed to have.
That's boring.
Super
It's
basic.
just like one of the most boring. I mean, it's practically a pet rock. So,
Literally is a pet rock.
yeah. I mean, I still have one, but
no, they're awesome. You can't go wrong.
yeah, it's like it's like funny because they're so chill, and that's what makes them so great. But at the same time, they're really boring.
Yeah, you pull them out to handle them, and they just like sit
just kind of sit there. Yeah, that's it. So,
which is cool.
Yeah, I think they are really great for like educational events because you can trust them to not just be all nippy.
Yeah.
So then I got when I graduated high school. I'm LDS, so I actually went on a mission to Montana, and so I got used to the cold going up there. And then when I moved to Utah, I started a reptile collection. So
nice.
And you collected reptiles a lot like crazy too at a certain point.
Both of us did, yeah.
Yeah, both of you guys did.
Oh yeah.
So I had mangrove snakes, plenty of different monitor species. I didn't really have monitor species that were big.
Would you have like Ackies and stuff?
No, I had like see here. It was oh man, it's been so long. I'm trying to remember some of the names. Roughneck monitor. Nice. I had shoot, I'm trying to remember the name of that.
Blackthroat, Savannah.
No, nothing that big. Man,
talking like the green, like the green.
In my head. Like they were roughly the size of like the emerald, like the green tree, like
monitors, the blue ones and the green ones.
The blue one. They were roughly that size.
Those are so cool.
A couple of the monitors I had. I'm trying to remember the name of I had this really beautiful yellow one. That one was pretty. I did have a Nile monitor for a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Lived too long. He came to me like already pretty beat up, and he lived maybe 2 to 3 years before he just passed one day, and I still never figured out why. But I think the favorite species I had were caiman lizards. I don't know if you've ever seen those.
Those are sweet.
They have green body, and they got this bright orange head, and they're semi-aquatic.
And they have the red eyes, right? Is that what I'm? Same thing.
No, they kind of have just dark eyes. I don't know. They might have. Some of them might have like an orangish red eyes. But,
there's a few different kinds, isn't there?
I think there's a Peruvian variety, but we can't get them, or like a Cuban variety, something.
Right.
And they don't have the green and the orange. They're just like brown. So they kind of look more like your normal crocodilian, color.
Aaron wants to get a saltwater crocodile and
they're really cool.
Put it in his backyard.
And then I ended up getting jobs at like aquariums and working at zoos and got obsessed with that. And when I was introduced to, I met a guy who was a falconer, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. What is that? And he's like, I have a falcon. I'm like, okay, cool. Can I see it sometime? So we met at a park, and I got to hold this beautiful white gyr falcon.
Oh, that's cool. He's like, yeah, it's over here in my van. Stop going in my van. The birds in my van.
The birds in the van.
So he just pulled out a gyr. That's pretty cool. That was nice of him to do that for you.
Yeah, he pulled out a gyr. It was really nice, and it was so gorgeous. And I think that was like the moment where I was like, I got to do this.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it was hunting. I had no idea at the time. And so he made it sound like, oh yeah, you just have them as pets. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so that was the impression he was giving off. And that's pretty much what he did. He's never caught anything with any of his birds.
What's his name?
I'm not going to
give his nime so we can go and ridicule him.
I'm not going to do that. That's too mean.
Okay.
But I kind of became obsessed with it. I got a hold of a Craig Boren, who was the Utah president, like the club president at the time. and I was talking to him, and I had the classic, "Hey, I'm really interested in falconry, and like I think owls are really cool."
Classic.
And I just want to have a bird. He's like, "What do you plan on doing with it?" Like, I don't know, maybe some education.
Trying to talk to it with my brain.
Yeah, try to
have a psychic connection with it.
Yeah, exactly right. So
imagine that though. That'd be so epic, dude. Imagine.
Well, it'd be very interesting to know exactly how these animals think. I think that would be kind of something that would be super interesting.
I know how a goshawk thinks.
I get into the mind of a goshawk. So
goshawk is kill, breed, kill, breed, kill.
That's like my mind.
Yeah.
So, he was kind enough to take me out. He had a couple Harris hawks, and we went out into the sagebrush desert. It's just super flat out there. It's just flat and sagebrush only, maybe comes up to your knees. And he caught a cottontail and a jackrabbit. Those two Harrises did. I was super impressed, and I'm like, I want to do this. And he's like, all right, well, you don't want an owl.
Yeah.
I was like, really? Okay, then what's the better bird for this type of thing? He's like, a redtail. I'm like, all right, I'm getting a redtail.
Yeah.
So I became super obsessed. I was watching all the videos, and I think this was literally right before there was kind of that huge increase of like YouTube falconers. So the only like main channel that was doing falconry was still Falconry Told.
Yeah.
And so I was like binging his videos. And then I think the season before I started, that one guy, Max Powell, was doing it.
Oh my God. There we go.
He did a terrible job, but to be honest, he looked really bad to other falconers, but ultimately I don't think the public could really tell that he was that.
Yeah, me and you had that discussion in another conversation. It was a good point that you made, and that's a lot of it, right? Because a lot of falconers, we present something to the public, and whether we know that it's wrong within our community, as long as it's not making falconry look bad or look different than what it really is, if it's still like getting the point across of education and understanding of the birds, then really you should just. I'm guilty of getting crazy in the Max Powell comment section on YouTube, and I'm guilty of it.
I just looked him up to see if he's doing anything anymore.
He let his bird go after the second year he had it, and then he just decided to give it up. He was doing too many hobbies at once. Like, he started falconry, and then he learned how to like parasail, like motor sail or motor pair. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
So you have the giant motor with the propellers, and you got the parachute thing. It's cool stuff, but he got into too many hobbies, I think, at once while he was trying to get falconry too.
I think he was trying to find what was going to help his channel grow, to be honest with you.
Possibly. Yeah. Wouldn't be surprised.
I just remember
his first video was good though. Like when he was talking about trapping, and when he went out and trapped the red-tailed hawk, he had a really good explanation on all of it, and it was a great video. And then after that, it kind of just went downhill.
Yeah.
The actual hunting was the problem.
Yeah, the actual hunting.
He probably took good care of his bird as far as the husbandry.
I don't know.
It broke feathers.
Never mind. You should not break feathers with a red tail. I'll say it right now.
Yeah, I mean,
we all have.
No, not all of us.
Okay, excuse me. I've tipped a feather here and there. Give me a break.
Yeah, well, I mean, second red tail broke a tail feather because she was just sitting on it while eating a bunny. So.
Yeah, some will do that. Yeah, Max. Yeah, he would get like store-bought rats and like put them in like the field and just like let his bird come down and like grab them, and sometimes they'd fly away with it and stuff, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, no.
He was using them as baggies."
Yeah, it was
pretty baggies. It was really odd.
It was pretty sad. I don't know if his sponsor was involved in his, in helping him at all, or if he had a poor sponsor. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure the situation was that once he started getting backlash, his sponsor just practically went in hiding and wouldn't communicate with him either.
Sold his business.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, forget this. I don't."
Yeah.
Well, I don't want anybody to look at me.
That's a good lesson for the audience that when you
He
sponsor
did the
somebody,
right thing. He should have
Yeah.
fell on a sword like a samurai.
they don't fall on
I
it.
don't know who the sponsor really was or anything, or if he was well known in the community or not. Like,
For all the listeners, I pretended like I had a katana cutting my stomach.
Simbuku.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
That's what it's called, and that you stab it in your sternum, and then I think you're supposed to lift up and then down and then
That sounds awful.
side to side.
Takes a real man to do that.
For real, man. Those guys, I mean, and listen, the samurais, they were falconers. They were falconers. A lot of them were.
They were goshawkers.
They were.
Goshawkers have always been badass, right?
Yeah, I get. No Harris Hawks with those samurais. Sorry, everybody. We're just joking. We can't help ourselves. Okay.
Oh, man.
So keep going, Jason. Tell us more.
Well, I guess if we go back to when I started, my first bird I got was a redtail. We had a great season, learned a lot of lessons, and we had a great time. I think that hawk only caught like 17 rabbits. But then my second year, I trapped a new redtail. And that's the one that most people know because that's right when like TikTok really started taking off. And I started posting everything that I was doing on TikTok. And that one was Astrid. And so she did really well, and she caught like 35 or 36 rabbits that season. And we don't have a whole lot of rabbits in Utah. Like there just aren't that many. So like that season I was walking like a good 2 or 3 hours to try to find rabbits, and I even had a dog, and maybe I'd see 5 rabbits. Like that'd be it.
Yeah.
And so we did pretty well that season. Again, learned a lot of lessons. And that's when I think I discovered UKC was that year.
Yeah.
And I started seeing all the duck videos of like, I think it was Karen, right?
Yeah.
Catching all the ducks.
She was a beast.
I thought that was so cool. I'm like, what bird I don't think I'm ready for a goshawk. So I knew I wanted to get into abatement. So I'm like, why don't I just get a Harris hawk? And eventually I'll use her for abatement. But for now, let me just fly her like a falconry bird. And so then I just started hunting ducks with the Harris hawk, and she was crazy successful. She got like 65 ducks in her first season and like 12 rabbits before we started doing ducks before that.
Was that in Utah, or was that
one I've ever had flying birds?
That was in Utah?
Or at the time, at least. Yeah, that was in Utah.
Was that Utah, Alabama?
Utah.
Yeah. Yeah, he was kicking serious ass with that bird.
It was a lot of
Was
fun.
it
we did a lot of canal ducks. So it was like all canal ducks. It was difficult to even get close to like those wetland ducks because they would fly off the moment they see you. You know,
Yeah.
I need to get closer. And so the canal ducks were like scared enough to where if you're walking up with the hawk, they would recognize you and they would fly off at a good distance where it's like felt like the effort was fair for the Harris hawk. So
yeah,
I really enjoyed that, and that was super fun. I would love to hunt ducks again, but here in Arizona, I just can't find a decent place to do that consistently.
So what were what was that a wild caught Harris hawk or captive?
No, I bought a captive bred bird.
Okay. Have you flown a wild caught yet?
No, I don't really have a desire to be honest. I'm already flying Harris hawks for abatement so much. I'm kind of tired of the species, so it's like I have the
very
birds.
Different.
I believe it. It's just that I'm already flying the same species for work. If I then start trying to fly that same exact species for my falconry, I'll just feel like I'm working, and I won't enjoy myself.
You bring up a good point, and that's something I wanted to ask you about. I figured we'd get into it later. Well, we'll get into it later, more in depth of what you do. But do you notice that? Because I've noticed that with people that I know personally, like friends of mine that have, whether it's educational, jobs where their job is falconry. Have you noticed that it's impacting you in a negative way where you feel as though like, I just clocked out and now I got to go fly another bird? Or do you not have that thought?
Not when I'm flying a goshawk.
We coached him before he came on the show. Just
Good
kidding.
job.
Just
You
kidding.
know, the first year that I was doing abatement, I was still flying a Harris Hawk for falconry, and that did get stale really fast.
Okay.
Just because I was flying the Harris Hawks for work, then I take my Harris Hawks go hunting, and got so stale. And at least for work, we're pretty much either like a baiting grackle or we're catching pigeons. Those are the two main things that we're doing, and I'm not really messing with rabbits at all. So if I'm hawking rabbits, it feels different enough, especially because I'm bringing my dogs in. They're
Right.
helping find and point rabbits. And so it feels different enough, but using the same species for work and for falconry did get stale.
That's a good point. Okay.
I do notice that a lot with other falconers who try to get into abatement or give it a shot. It almost makes it kind of like sours their falconry in
Yeah.
a way. Like they don't enjoy it nearly as much. And so when because I think prior to it, they're always looking forward to go hunting, to go with their bird and do this really enjoy this 2 to 3 hour hunt. And then when they become an abatement falconer, now you're with your bird for like 12 hours a day.
Right.
and it can get a bit old.
Right.
And so I've just kind of chose to, I'm going to fly a different species for my falconry, and I'm not going to hunt the same species while I'm doing falconry.
That's
So
cool.
that way I can kind of keep that separation between, work and falconry a lot better. So I can at least enjoy it.
Yeah,
So,
but I would imagine that even though it gets stale and stuff like that, you still have a really cool job.
it's a lot of fun. Actually, what is really nice about my job too is because I think also what helps is I am catching and killing pigeons. So with the Harris, and they're not protected here at all. We can do whatever we want with them. And so we catch, 100, like each hawk catches like well over 200 pigeons a season.
Wow.
And so they do really, really well. And I mean, we're shining spotlights up there and throwing them up to catch them at night. And then we're flying them out of the vehicle so that way we can catch them for work that way as well. And then for the grackle, we'll just abate them. So we'll just do the classic, like just haze them as much as we possibly can to get them out. And it works really well. We can get rid of roughly 60 to 70% of the grackle in the area, but there's always going to be some.
Right.
With pigeons, we could get rid of like 95 to 99% of the pigeons. But there's always going to be like one or two that kind of come back.
Right. And is that because you're going to their roost at night and you're removing them? Because you were telling me that
literally killing them. So we're
okay.
removing them. So that's why they don't come back. Like those ones will never come back. And
they're
then we
never
just
coming back.
Yeah, either we feed those pigeons. We're either feeding those pigeons to like our own Harris Hawks, or we just freeze them and then donate them to the Arizona Raptor Center, and then he'll feed all the injured and recovering redtails and Harris Hawks with it. So
do you breast those pigeons out, or you just feed them
just
whole?
pull the crop out. That's all we do. I don't know. I feed when I toss a pigeon to my birds. I normally take out all the entrails, so I just kind of rip the breast out, and then I have just like the kind of feathery breast and the wings, and I'll toss that to my bird.
What technique do you use?
I'll also do collar dove because I'll also use an air gun at work as well, which kind of helps break up the repetitiveness of constantly using a hawk, especially during this time of year when it's like 110 degrees, 110 plus. And the hawks don't want to fly in that. Even the wild hawks are just sitting in the tree panting the whole time.
Yeah.
So we pull out our air guns. We just start shooting. So we'll get rid of a bunch of pigeons that way.
Yeah.
And I'll take out as many collar doves as I can too. That's also a source for hawks.
And they're invasive, the collar doves, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're from Eurasia. So
okay,
yeah. They're everywhere out there.
Anywhere we want. In a lot of places, the Eurasian collar dove has like replaced the mourning dove. Like
it's not good.
Yeah, it's not really that great. So out here, I'm taking out as many as I can. I don't know if I'm making that well of a dent. But,
They're harder to shoot.
Not so much. I think they're a lot easier. They drop easier than pigeons do.
So when you're breasting out these pigeons, is there like a specific technique? Because I've seen like some duck videos where there's like all these cool little techniques where you like stand on the wings and like hook your fingers under the breast and pull up and everything slides out. Like, or you just friggin' just ripping them out.
So I put my thumb right under like the lowest part of the keel. And I put my thumb in that, and then it'll the kind of tip of the keel where that breast ends will usually poke through the skin. So I'll just put my thumb under that, and then I'll put my other finger kind of right where the crop is, and then I'll go over and then under inside, and then I could literally just take from the legs and pull it up.
Oh, I
back.
see.
So it pulls the breast right out normally.
That's pretty cool.
It works
Yeah, that's good.
And then I can give that to them with the feathers so they have enough to cast out.
Yeah.
But I haven't had any issues. No, we haven't had any of our, like, my boss and I, like, I've been feeding my Harris Hawks pigeon and collar dove since I got here. I've been feeding my hawks pigeon and collar dove, at least the Harris Hawks. And then he's been feeding his hawks that stuff for 10 years, and he hasn't had a single one of them get browns from them.
Is that because you're freezing them, or just...
We are freezing them, so they're definitely frozen for at least a week.
I don't know if freezing them actually kills the frounce.
I thought it does.
Bacteria, isn't it? No, it's a parasite.
Doesn't it kill it? I thought it kills it. I thought the frounce gets killed.
At least. But also, I think what helps is that Harris Hawks just have such a good immune system. So, like, I'm not going to risk that for my goshawk. So, I don't feed my goshawk dove or pigeon. But I'll give it to the Harrises. They got a good, strong immune system.
Cool. I wanted to go
back. You love less.
Yeah. I wanted to go back for a second.
To replace.
Right. Exactly. Which one takes more work to get entered? I wanted to go back because you mentioned TikTok, and that's how I stumbled on you. And I'm like, who is this? Because TikTok is like, for me personally, it's kind of like a cesspool. But you get some good.
I hate it for almost the same reasons you do.
Yeah, you get like real lowbrow like subscribers, and they're like, just saying all kinds of crazy stuff. But I stumbled on you, and I was like, holy crap, this dude has, because I think when I stumbled onto your page, you had like 850,000 subscribers as an apprentice. Can you talk?
That was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. And I'm watching this guy, and like, you know what I mean? I'm a fellow falconer, so I'm like, let's see what he says that's wrong. And like, to be honest, everything you said was like spot on. You were just like sharing falconry, and you were an apprentice, but everything you were saying was right on the money. And
I appreciate that.
No, that was my opinion.
I did think I overshared a few times. Like, I think I overshared when it came to trapping.
Yes, so that's the big thing.
And I said everything that should have been said in those videos was said.
Right.
But I think I still went a little bit too much into detail, showed maybe a little too much.
Yeah.
When things like that should be better. But I will say everything that I did post on trapping was way better than the trapping videos that get posted on the YouTube with no context at all. So
right.
It's like, okay, it wasn't the best, but it still wasn't the worst.
I think if somebody wants to trap a hawk, they can just Google how to do it. I don't think you're causing
people. They really
people.
can. I don't think. Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, I could change that. I'll do better about that in the future. But overall, did it have some type of negative effect on the sport or myself? Or I honestly.
I can't see it either, and I'm not just agreeing with you. I just think that if somebody thinks they want to go get a bird, they can, at this point in time at the internet, they can figure out how to go and get themselves a bird illegally. But now you did receive.
I had 1 million. I got up to 1 million followers on TikTok.
Holy crap!
And then I got banned.
yeah. They're like, this guy's too big.
I don't know. Most of it was just because it was hunting content. So TikTok's full of sensitive whiner babies. So
Yeah, I would get my. That's why I deleted mine because I got
You just
sick of.
get video after video
I
banned.
had my goshawk on the glove eating a rabbit leg with no fur on it, and they would flag it and say this is graphic, violent content. Remove this, or you're gonna, get a strike or whatever. I'm like, this is so
That
stupid.
happens to me.
I mean, this is so stupid. Like my bird's eating. Like now that's violence. Now a bird of prey eating meat. Like that's what do you want me to feed it? Grass? I'm like, this is stupid. I'm not wasting my time on this site, and I deleted it. But you got a little bit of hate from the community when you were on TikTok. Is that correct?
A little bit. It caused me to like kind of pull back on how much I was sharing on social media. I was getting false reports on me. Like I would have weird stuff. Like I'd have Fish and Game show up to my house. They'd be like, "You have a bald eagle."
You're like, right here, step this way. It's right here.
Like, and I'm like, what? No. And they're like, we have reports that you have a bald. I'm like, no. And they're like, and this happens like maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I held somebody else's bald eagle, like a falconer friend's bald eagle in California or something. I brought a ferruginous hawk from California at one point, and Fish and Game showed up to my house being like, we heard that you trapped a wild ferruginous hawk and brought it to Utah.
Yeah.
And it was just a transfer. Like it was just transferring from one falconer to like that's all it was. Like weird stuff like that. Or I posted a video about me finding great horned owl nests, and I'm like, oh, there's one right there, and showing it. Week later, Fish and Game shows up. Hey, we heard you're taking an owl from a nest. Like it's just this constant barrage of like, it felt like at the time I couldn't post anything because there was somebody out there, or at least somebody in the community, trying to weaponize Fish and Game again.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, well, it's not really worth doing to have Fish and Game knocking on my door constantly. And so I stopped for a bit. And then once I became a general, I just started uploading as much as I wanted again. And I haven't had any issues since. And I honestly think that the real reason was I was just an apprentice. There's falconers out there that just don't like it when apprentices like post content. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So,
which I understand that because, you're still learning and this and that. And it's,
but weaponizing the Fish and Game in order to try to stop an apprentice falconer from doing so is super inappropriate.
Yeah, it's unacceptable.
A waste of resources.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and so I see a few apprentices, the same thing happening to them. So as they're posting online, so I've messaged them and be like, "Hey, I've been through this. Like keep posting, but just like be careful." So,
right.
Like I don't want these apprentices to get discouraged and then hide, and because even for a while, I stopped going to events. I didn't want to even like talk to any other or even go out with other local falconers, because like I felt like everybody hated me at the time.
Right.
And I think I kind of was like, nah, I'm not. Like it's got to be like maybe 2 or 3 people.
Yeah,
and like the falconry coordinator would call me and be like, we've been getting complaints about you. I'm like, oh, what about? Complaints. They just don't like your videos. Okay,
so
well,
don't watch them.
What is it like? Yeah, like don't watch them. He's like, oh, well, probably need to settle down because you're ruffling some feathers. And
literally,
I'm like, I'm just posting falconry. Like I don't understand. And he's like, well, I'm not here to tell you how to run your social media. And I'm thinking, but here you are telling me how to run my social media. It was very dumb. Thankfully, that's all just kind of been behind us. And things have gone really well.
Right. Once you get a little, I feel like once you get a little street cred, people leave you alone. I haven't had any. Well, I had one video on TikTok that was super illegal, but I didn't realize it was illegal because I thought, oh, car hawking's legal, but it's not legal unless you're going after non-game species.
Yeah, that's the same for here as well. And especially because all my car hawking videos are also of us doing abatement, which isn't hunting.
Right.
So,
yeah, and you're going after invasive species, so they can't even really say anything. I had a video that was super cool, and the bird didn't catch anything, but I was doing something that I shouldn't have been doing. And yeah, they showed up at my house with bulletproof vests and everything like that. And the guy was super cool about it, to be honest. And it was pretty creepy because there were people poaching deer in that area, and it was literally just me driving on a road, slipping my bird out the window on a species that will not be named, and it didn't catch it, but it was super illegal. And I didn't really kind of realize it was illegal because, I just felt like, oh, car hawking is what, you do as a falconer. I didn't really realize it was like actually illegal. And the guy's like, I knew exactly where you were. You were behind this building on this street. And I'm like, how the hell did you know that? And he goes, and he wanted me to be a snitch. That was a story. He said there's people shooting big bucks in the area. It's like a office park basically, and there's big bucks that run around the area, and there's people shooting these bucks and just like literally chopping the head off and leaving, which is so disrespectful and stupid. Ooh. And he like just asked me, he's like, listen,
sorry about that.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, it was you, Aaron. You drove up. And he basically just told me, like, we could play this however you want. I got you dead to rights, whatever. But listen, if you keep your eyes open, and I was like begging him, I was like, please, I don't want, falconry is so important to me. I did not even realize it was cool. And what he told me was, and this is good for the audience to hear, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, falconry, Carl Hawking's not falconry. It is falconry. And there's like this internal debate about it. But from a game and fish standpoint, at least the interpretation from this officer is it's the same exact thing as driving around with a gun hanging out your window looking for something to shoot. That's the way he views it. And that's the way the law is kind of written in most places. So if you're going after starlings and pigeons and collared doves that are non-invasive, they can't really say anything to you about it as long as you're not endangering anybody, right? But what I was doing was just straight up like the same thing. And I didn't realize that. And he educated me, which was cool. And I've never done it since. And I learned my lesson. So that was kind of a positive situation. But he wanted me to keep my eyes out for like piles of corn and like tree stands and places they shouldn't be. And, but I ain't no snitch. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't do it. But okay. So on the same topic of drama and nonsense, there's a little drama going on in the state that you live in now between
I mean, there used to be, but not so much now.
Okay.
I remember there's been like drama history, but I think there was like a point where in Arizona there were like two separate clubs that like you guys have talked about that with another state.
Numbers. Get that number right? Up. You need 3 clubs.
I think that's what was happening here, and then now it's kind of become one club, but I can tell there's still a little bit of.
I'm getting ready to start a 4th club in North Carolina.
So it's kind of funny. It's like I've run into like some of the nicest falconers here in Arizona. I've run into also some of the meanest. It's like it's like kind of on either extreme here for me so far. And I think part of it is because we're a bit more condensed here in Arizona. So a lot of falconers are sharing fields like all the time. And
wow.
And so, like, I have to be careful and keep my eyes peeled. So, I got to watch out for the guy across the field with a little T-perch,
Yeah. That's an interesting dynamic because a lot of states don't have that. And especially like in New Jersey and stuff, the way I was brought up in falconry, it's like you don't share spots unless they're like somebody close to you. But the way you kind of described it, it's kind of like it's just like it's just a daily thing. Like, oh, you're going to hit that spot, or you pull in and somebody's already in the spot. You're like, all right, I'll go to the next spot, which is like...
Yeah, kind of. I mean, like, there's a lot of these washes that are right in the middle of the city.
Right.
And in these washes, it's just like it's packed with rabbits. And so of course, every falconer is going to hunt in those same areas. And so, like, I'm here just trying to discover new areas. Nobody's shown me an area to go hunting.
Right.
So I'm finding all these spots organically. And there have been a couple guys who were like mad that I was in their spot. And it's like, settle down. You didn't show me this area. Like, I'm not going to hunt it while you're here. Have fun. Like, I'm out.
Right.
So, and there have been a couple of them where I know me and this one guy, we hunt the same wash. So I have his number and we message each other when we plan on going. He normally goes during the weekdays. I normally go there during the weekends. and it spreads out enough. Thankfully, he doesn't have dogs, so he actually disturbs the area less. So it's kind of nice for me, at least.
Right.
And at the time, I was using 2 dogs to find rabbits. Flush rabbits.
Do you think that bothers him that you go there, or you don't know?
I don't think so. He was really nice about it. I just wanted to make sure that, he has all the time. Like, if he has an opportunity to go and take his bird out, he should get that opportunity. I honestly have so many different places I could go. I can always go somewhere else. I have enough spots all over the place. It's not a big deal for me.
Right.
And so if there is another guy there, that's all right. Enjoy your time. Get your birds out and fly them. I'll go to a different area. It's not a big deal.
That's
Are you
cool.
in Phoenix or Tucson?
Neither. I'm in Gilbert. So Gilbert's kind of like a southeast of Phoenix.
Yeah.
It's in like kind of the suburban areas surrounding Phoenix. I
have
guess.
A friend from Gilbert.
So a little further. Gilbert's a good spot because there's a lot of rabbits in Gilbert too. So
there seems to be a lot of rabbits in Arizona. I follow this guy. I'm in the trades, right? I'm a plumber, and there's this guy I follow on Instagram, and he does home inspections. And it's hilarious because there's like, they're building like
I know
crazy.
Who you're talking to. I know who you're talking about. I love this guy.
And he finds
wears that brim hat.
The brim hat. Yes, the brim hat.
That guy's awesome.
Dude, he finds these contractors that are so shady and they cut corners like crazy. But in one of his videos, I think I sent it to you, and he's filming himself walking outside the complex, like this big housing complex, and he's filming himself walking through like the bushes. And he's like, all right, we're going to go check this contractor. He has a bad reputation of cutting corners. Let's see what we find today. But as he's walking, he flushed like 2 rabbits under his feet while he was walking. Yeah. And I sent it to you. I was like, dude, you got to get over there. There's a lot of rabbits in there.
I've probably hunted the spot, to be honest.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? It's like, I'm like, there's so many rabbits there that just a random guy is flushing 2 rabbits at his feet, just making a quick little intro to his video. And yeah, he does a lot of good work because these contract, like, I would never buy a flipped house or a contracted house in Arizona from one of those kind of guys because, dude, they're just like not connecting beams. There's like holes in the roof. It's terrible.
Oh my
this guy, it's so bad. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, he's super great.
Great. So we had an abundance of rabbit, which is why I'm like, well, and we have quail too,
right?
But one of the problems is Tyler mentioned to me like, oh, are you trying to do like city quail or are you trying to do like out in the desert quail? And I'm like, yeah, I'd probably be closer to the city. And he's like, don't do that.
He's like, don't talk to me anymore.
He's like, it's not worth it. Like, he's like, your bird's just going to catch like a quail in somebody's backyard. And it's just going to happen to you over and over and over again until your bird gets attacked by a dog. Like, it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm like, it sucks, So I was like, all right, well, I'll do rabbits. And so that was a good choice because goshawk caught like 100 rabbits, 2 escaped chickens, and a rat.
Yeah, that was that's your first goshawk ever too.
Yeah, first one ever. When I got, like, right before I got her, I like, while I was in Utah, I wanted to fly one. And so I put down money for it. And then I had to back off that season because we were moving here. And then after I moved here, I was like, yep, I'm ready for the season. And he sold it to me for like way cheap. I got it for like $2,000.
You got a better deal than me. When I called him, he wasn't giving me a deal, which is funny.
Who was this?
I don't know why.
Who was it?
Aaron Jones.
You gave me his name. He's not on social media at all.
He's not he's not on anything, but he makes good birds. I've flown another.
I like my bird.
Your bird came out great. Yeah, he makes good birds, and he's part of like a group that makes a lot of birds, right? Isn't he?
I don't know. I don't know all the details of his place. I sent him pictures like, hey, birds on like Rabbit 75, and he's like, all right, that's cool. He didn't seem like that interested in how the bird was doing.
Dude, I've noticed that. It's not him personally. I've noticed that some breeders, they're really like that. I don't know why. I really don't know why. They don't get, and that's the same thing, right? Is it's like they're doing it for a living, and I don't know if it's like same thing with the abatement where they're just like, yeah, man, great. That's why I sold it to you. You know what I mean? Like with the abatement and then breeding. I hear a lot of breeders and they're like, I know a lot of them, and I'm not going to call them out by name. And they're like, I don't know if I'm going to even do this next year. You know what I mean? Like, I'm tired of this. And like I've heard 4 or 5 of them say that, except for
a
like,
lot of
except for
breeders
like,
will say the same thing.
except for like Seth and Moglich, they're like they just breed. But like I've heard so many other guys that like, I don't even think I'm doing this next year, man. Like, you want the bird or not? Like, I'm just
Breeding
over
is
it.
such a pain in the ass.
Honestly, I just hope North Mountain goshawks keeps going with the chamber raised birds, because if I get a goshawk again, I'm either pulling from a nest or I will get a chamber raised finished bird from them. Like, I don't think I want to
Tell
purchase an imprinted goshawk again. That was so difficult. I'll give you a better look at her.
Oh, the imprint was difficult, you said?
Yeah, like just all the noise and the flying around the house. And
you don't like that? That's the funnest part for me. I love that.
Although that's funny. It's funny I say that, and I'm doing it again right now.
What do you got?
Maybe I'll get into that next. Let's go. Let's talk about just the goshawk for a little.
Aaron, you see this guy? He's trying to take over our interview. He's trying to.
We don't play that game. We ask the questions here.
We ask the questions here.
What do you ask me the question? I'm not afraid.
No, we're just joking.
We're concerned that listeners are sick of us talking about goshawks, because it's like,
well, that's too bad. They can suck it up.
Well, that's you're the perfect.
Into is we have a lot of people who don't fly goshawks.
Yeah, that's.
And we're just constantly like, goshawks are superior, Harris hawks are shit, red tails are boring.
I'll tell you, Harris hawks are fantastic birds. They're probably, there's a reason why they're the most popular bird of prey to fly for falconry in the world. Isn't that wild to think that like American falconry has only been around maybe 200 years, yet we've influenced the world of falconry maybe more than any other country in the world.
Yeah.
And with just the Harris hawk.
I think if you just boil falconry down, you boil it down to what it is, like, it's hard to beat Harris hawks.
It's difficult. And
it's hard to beat Harris hawks.
And also, I think with the Harris hawk that I don't get so much with the goshawk is my Harris hawk's my buddy, my Harris hawk. I can like scratch on his head and touch him, and like they're just kind of like, oh, whoa, what the heck? They just are okay with being with you, love being with you. They're your little friend and buddy. And then on top of that, they've got a pretty high success rate for catching game, and so they become a perfect bird for a lot of people.
I bet there's people out west who catch 500 head a game with the cast of Harris hawks.
I would not doubt it.
I know a guy in Minnesota that catches 300 with 2 birds.
Just my female Harris hawk caught 500 rabbits. Not 500 rabbits, 500 pigeons the first year we were here in Arizona.
That's insane.
It was crazy because I could take her out and I would catch like 8 to 12 pigeons a session.
That's nuts, man.
It was insane. And she got really good at it. Like, not a single pigeon was getting away after she caught at least 100. So
you're a good person to speak on the differences, because you've flown, like, you've only been in falconry for 5 years, but that's a decent amount of time. But you've flown a few red tails, a bunch of Harris hawks, and now you got a goshawk. So you're kind of a good guest to kind of give both sides to it, because you made a video on YouTube that kind of broke down your opinion on it. So maybe you can.
I like that video a lot, actually. That's like one of my favorites.
We'll share the video, even though you have more subscribers and followers than us. But
yeah, that one I posted, I believe, to Desert King's Falconry page. That's our work. That's the company I work for abatement. I do their social media. So anything that you see, pretty much everything that you see on their Instagram and YouTube, I'm the one who made it. I'm the one who made that content.
So that video that has like 65 million views on it, that was from you?
I did make it, yeah.
That's it's like, you can't.
That might be my bird Luke. That might be the Harris hawk Luke that I'm using. Some of those. Crazy.
It's crazy how they just go viral like that, right? Isn't that nuts?
I don't know how either. I'm just putting up content consistently. I think it has just enough shock value to really make people want to talk about it, hate on it, or love it, or it gets people talking.
Yeah, that video, you didn't even.
It's always funny whenever I'm like posting videos of like the hawks grabbing pigeons at night, and like I'll get a falconer go on there and be like, "This isn't sporting at all." And I'm like, of course not. We're trying to give these pigeons the least sporting chance so that like how foolish will we look? Like a client's like, I want to get rid of all these pigeons. And we go, all right, well, I'm going to step back about 50 yards, give this pigeon a fair chance.
No, that's not your job.
No, it's not my job. So we're trying to give the pigeon the least, like the I guess the least sporting chance.
The opposite of this podcast.
Of this podcast. That might be.
Which is fine. That's the that's the goal.
Yeah.
So what are your opinions on those three species? Goshawk, harrishawk, redtail, just in a nutshell. You could take a little time to talk about it.
No experience with is flying as a cast. I've never flown a cast of Harrises before. I've just flown a variety of Harris hawks. I've flown one female Harris hawk on a variety of quarry, and then all the other Harris hawks I've flown almost exclusively on.
Okay.
And they're really easy to maintain their body weight. They're easy to train. They're easy to work with. They're really well in crowds. It's not very common for a Harris hawk to just attack people, even though that sometimes happens, but it's not so common with that species. And then if you want to switch the quarry up, one day you want to go hunt pigeons, the next day you want to go hunt ducks, and maybe the next day you want to go hunt rabbits. You can easily do that with that species.
Right.
And heck, that bird could be 20 or 30 grams overweight the whole time. And you're still going to have a great time. Maybe it won't fly its best, but you're still going to catch them.
Okay.
So, and then I feel like with the goshawk, there's definitely a lot more finesse. There's a lot more you got to pay attention to.
That's controversial to say that, by the way.
It's controversial to say the goshawk's more work.
Yes, it's very controversial. You shouldn't say that. You're gonna offend a lot of listeners saying that goshawks require more work to fly. Apparently,
huh? Is that offense from like the Harris hawk groupies or like?
I would say redtail guys got a little triggered when
we posted a reel, and
I'll say my goshawk was definitely more work than flying a redtail. Like to get him going was definitely more work.
Oh my god, that's crazy! That's crazy for you to say. That's so controversial for you to say that. I didn't even know that was.
How could you say something so brave yet so controversial?
We're gonna have to edit that part out because we're gonna offend people.
Geez, I didn't know this was so like taboo to say.
I didn't know that either, to be honest. It's not a matter of the bird being better than another bird. It's a different bird. You got to kind of pay more attention. I mean, I don't know.
You've said it before too, and I like how you say it. It just requires you to be a better falconer, a better trainer.
Dude, be careful. Be careful. People are tuning out.
Arrogant. It's like, well, then that means I'm a better trainer.
But that's not the point.
That's not the point. It's just that.
Yeah.
I think anybody can fly one. Just got to put in the work and the effort and the time, paying attention to the species and learning how they do. And I feel like you put more work into it, but they also like reward you so much more.
In what way?
The intensity in their flight style is something that I love a lot. Their high success rate is something I love a lot. I have found so far, if I'm flying a male Harris and a goshawk, it doesn't matter if it's male or female, at least for now. Well, for my example, I guess female goshawk.
Right.
Because I'm only flown a female. So male Harris hawk compared to a female goshawk. Normally, when I take my male Harris hawks out, I'm catching one rabbit at about every 5 slips that we get.
Okay.
My goshawk will catch one out of every 2 in the exact same setting.
Right.
So their success rate I find it to be way higher. And I had to, in order to reduce her success rate so I could get her to fly more often, I had to start stepping further and further away from the bush so that my dogs could flush out the bunnies and then the hawk could go and have a good chase. And then we were getting roughly 1 out of every 4 to 5.
Right.
And I really liked that success rate. And I just feel like there's so much more of a guarantee. Like, we're definitely going to kill something out here today. Maybe even 3 things. Like, we're going to kill, we're 100% going to kill something. With the Harris hawk, I still felt like there's a little bit maybe if we do good, he's about 30 grams overweight today, because I was too lazy to manage the weight because I know he's going to fly anyway.
Right.
And that's probably
that was on you, big dog.
That probably is more on me, like you said, but still, I mean, I don't know. I like both species, but for very different reasons.
So it sounds like you're saying that the Harris Hawk can lull you into bad habits.
What?
Doug, it lulls me into bad habits, that's for sure.
My sponsor had a great point today when he was checking out my mail. He said that their mood matters. So everything else can be perfect with the goshawk, accipiters, period. Everything else can be perfect. Their weight's on point. You got the game. It's the right time of day. But something has pissed them off or something spooked them, and they're not going to perform. So you've got to like Jimmy G said, like we probably all said at one point, you have to anticipate, right? So if a redtail, for instance, is at weight, weather's good, there's game to be had, it's going to do what it needs to do, even if it got pissed off. Even if when you put it in the box, you made a mistake getting it in the box, or even if when you went out to the Muse, you had to, chase it down a little bit to get it on the glove.
You chase down your goshawk?
No, I don't chase down my goshawk. No, I'm saying your redtail.
Oh, the redtail?
Yeah.
You chase down your redtail in the Muse?
He has to throw a BC in the door of the Mew every day to get the
get the bird out.
To get that thing on the glove, and then he throws it up in the tree.
But if you went out in the Muse and you had to chase down your goshawk, forget about it. You're not flying ever again.
Yeah. I mean, I've literally pulled my bird out of the box, took a couple steps in the field, beat a little brush, and just like you said, Aaron, the birds it didn't like the drive. I went over a huge bump when I went into the field or whatever, and it's looking at me. It's giving me this look. It's looking around, and I go, you know what? I got freaking 2 hours to kill, and I just go back to the truck. I throw the bird back in the box. That's a huge pro tip, and it wasn't my idea. And you put the bird back in the box, jump in the truck, turn it on, hang out, play on your phone for a little while. You pull that out. You pull the bird out in 15 minutes. Different bird. I'm telling you right now. That's a 100%. Huge pro tip. You don't have to force it. Just take a minute, put it back in the box, and like we call it, and the goshawk guys that I'm talking about. You just reset it. It's like a reset mode. You put it back in the box, let it reset, let it calm down, pull it out real nice and smooth, walk into the field nice and smooth, let the dogs get to work, and then the hunt is on. That's my, you know what I mean? But like you said, it's just, you got to kind of watch these little details, and you don't have to watch those details with other birds. And some people hate it. And I'm not saying everybody should fly a goshawk, because
I don't want everyone to fly one.
Well, yeah, because everyone flies one.
I want everyone to fly just what they love to fly. That's all I want.
Yeah,
you're nicer than
love
we
flying
are.
Redtails. Fly redtails.
Yeah,
I love flying a redtail. Like my redtail would do the soar, like the slope soar, and would take a thermal up and go like 1,000 feet in the air and then dive down on rabbits.
So that's the coolest
thing.
We
hunted,
dude.
I should have kept that bird.
So cool.
That bird. But
yeah,
and like, that was some of the most fun hunting I've ever had, was watching this bird take a pitch after rabbits.
I personally, as a goshawk guy, I don't think it gets much cooler in terms of falconry than a redtail overhead waiting on like a falcon, waiting to just crush a rabbit. I mean, that's so cool to me, because I don't do it here in the East. It's like so dense. We don't do that here. So to me, that's like, if I could do that every day, I'd probably do that and fly a goshawk, but I would do that a lot.
Yeah. And like, I haven't been falconer that long, so those listening don't have to take me that seriously with my opinions.
They won't.
I don't think
they don't take anybody seriously. Just kidding, everybody.
Like, I do actually still prefer flying a redtail for falconry over. Like I like their personalities more. I really loved that slope soaring. I like how they look a lot more. I think they're way prettier.
Yeah.
So I do prefer the redtail a little bit more.
And just the way they hit things, and the way that intensity.
The way they crash in the brush is really cool.
It's so cool. It's just
countless times of like literally them grabbing a rabbit in the bush, and there's like a stick in between their legs, and they got the rabbit like this.
Yeah.
So you got to like pull the stick out to get the bird and the rabbit out of the freaking sage. Crazy. So that was always insane. I have noticed there's a bit of a difference between the rabbits that you guys, the cottontail that you guys are hunting, versus the cottontail I have here. Because you keep bringing up how cottontail kind of run in this in a circle.
Yeah, at least out here, I can't speak to where you are, but yeah, if you flush one, that's the name of the game with beagles and shotguns. Just let the beagles push them around a big circle and you wait quietly. And that's a huge pro tip for people too. Just a quick story, it's on topic, but it's a quick story. And you know me, my stories and rants. I went out with Eric Swanson and his apprentice Mark, and Mark is awesome. And we flew his redtail, and his redtail is just like Superman down, like a beast. And I took him to a spot of mine. And this dude just like appeared out of nowhere with a beagle on a blaze orange leash. And so I said, "You trying to run that beagle?" And he was kind of looking at us like, "I don't know. Who are you?" You know what I mean? Like he was there to like run his beagle, but he didn't want us to know what he was doing, whatever. We were in a spot that is questionable, as us falconers find ourselves in on a regular basis. So, and we're like, well, listen, we're trying to catch rabbits with this hawk. It is what it is. And he's like, oh, really? Wow, that's so cool. You think your bird will be okay with my beagle? And I've never done this. And I'm sure people that listen, and if we have any hunters that like actually, hunt rabbits with beagles, they probably already know this because it's part of their culture. Us as falconers, we don't know this, what I'm about to get into. We are always yelling and screaming and making noise and ha 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 and kicking and hitting bushes. He cuts that beagle loose. Redtail gets up in the tree. It just goes off in one direction and just and starts pushing. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm like, oh, I'm like, ho. And he's like, everyone be quiet. Everyone be quiet. Be quiet. Be quiet. And I'm like, what? Like, that thing pushed that rabbit around a huge circle around this like, it was on a Sunday or a Saturday, and the office park was closed. It pushed this thing around this office park, ran the rabbit right past the redtail, and the bird missed. It didn't catch it, but it opened my eyes to something. And it was like, he's like, you talking and you making noise. That rabbit, as it's running away from that hound, is listening to you, and it's making a decision on what direction it wants to go based off of what it's hearing ahead of it. So it's like, you're always supposed to be quiet and let the rabbit sneak past you. And I thought that was super cool. And I started implementing that, also being more quiet, but also if my bird's on one side of this giant brush pile at a DPW station where they jump all the leaves and the brush, and there's rabbits all inside of it. If I'm standing on the side of my bird and I'm like, get him, Ginger, get in there, and I'm making noise, the rabbit's going to shoot out the opposite side, which is not good for my bird. So I position myself on the other side, and then I make purposeful noise on the other side. And like clockwork, the rabbit shoots out away from the noise, and it doesn't know my bird's in the tree, and the bird chases it. So that's a huge pro tip, especially in the East where you're hunting thick cover. If you're making a lot of noise, that rabbit's not going to circle back around to where you are. But that's just my story. But yeah. If they don't circle out by you? Like,
no, I mean, it's possible they do some type of circling, but really it's just like we get them out of one bush and they just book it as hard as they can to the next hole.
Like a jackrabbit, just like...
Yes, yeah, just boom, 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 boom. And I mean, like, you've seen my videos too.
Yeah.
Of the cottontail, and sometimes they'll be coming around, they'll go into a bush, and then my dogs come in and scare it out of that bush, and the goshawk keeps going and tries to catch it. And I get these like from 0 to 100 so fast.
Right.
Like, there is a little bit of a buildup when the dogs locate a rabbit and it's holding in that bush, doesn't want to come out, and the dogs are working the rabbit. And I use I have a lab English pointer mix, and then I had a Whippet Vizsla mix, a lurcher, which was an awesome dog.
That was
that dog so much.
Yeah, that was a great
he
dog, man.
He passed away due to an accident, one that I wasn't able to avoid. And so, really sad, but he had an amazing season and did what he loved. First season. He
was
flushed out
half Vizsla, half Whippet?
Yeah. And he flushed out so many rabbits. He was wicked fast. He caught like 12 rabbits of his own.
And he would point too a little bit, right?
Good point. Yeah, he would point. So, and you didn't always see it in my videos because oftentimes he would go around to the opposite side and then he'd point.
Right.
I could see him pointing, but you can't really tell in the videos.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, get it, boy, get it.
Would he get into the cover?
Yeah, he would push his way in there.
That's
Poor
nice.
poor dog kind of had like thin kind of skin and fur, so he get like scratched up a little bit. But dude, that dog loved it.
Yeah, that was a good
And
dog.
rabbit would go. Then we get the super intense chase with the goss and the rabbits, and they were like a dog fight, as they would go through and try as the goshawk would try to catch up, and rabbit would make this sharp turn, and you'd see the goshawk try to turn with it, and all the dust would go up. It was just intense.
Have you ever caught a gray squirrel,
I was
Jason?
like, I'm addicted to this. Like, I want to see that again.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I want to see it again and again.
Right? Never gets old.
Never gets old.
Jason, have you ever caught a gray squirrel?
I haven't. I'd love to, though. That sounds like fun.
It's an exotic game for them.
We've got
Right?
rock squirrel and ground squirrel, and I've caught rock squirrel with my birds. They've got some pretty good teeth on them, though.
They look like they're about the same size as a gray squirrel, the rock squirrels.
The rock squirrels.
Yeah, the squirrels, gray
I've
squirrels
seen
are
some
serious too.
fat, huge rock squirrels, and some that are like kind of small. So I don't know the consistency on their size very well.
What do they live in, holes and stuff, or they live in rocks?
Yeah, they live in burrows. Yeah, mostly.
Good guess.
I would imagine they live in rocks.
A lot of stones, like in some of these washes on the sides, they put a bunch of all these rocks up on the side to help to stop erosion, and a lot of rock squirrels live in those things.
So you're catching those kind of randomly. You can't really predict
every
that.
now and then with the Harris, we catch one. My goshawk went for a few of them, never caught one. They hunker down more during the winter, and they don't come out nearly as often. But once spring hits again, they're like out and about. So we almost caught a couple, but she never landed one. I'm kind of okay with that because these rock squirrels bite pretty hard. And, if she catches one, I'll be there to help her. If not, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, for my opinion with squirrels is if you don't enter the bird on squirrels early and heavy and casually, that they get bit more often. If you just take it real slow and keep them fat, let them play with the squirrels, I've never had a serious bite for any of my goshawks. I've caught hundreds of squirrels with my goshawks, and I've never had a serious bite.
I think the wild western goshawks they eat a lot of those rock squirrels.
Yeah, that was a Ben Woodruff video. That's your friend, right, Jason?
An acquaintance, I would say.
He made a whole video about that. He found a nest, and the nest they were like by a rest stop on a highway back in the woods, or like a trailhead or something. And anyway, he found the nest, and it was just littered with carcasses of just like
squirrels.
Ground squirrels. Like that was all they ate was ground squirrels, which is super cool. I heard goshawks don't eat squirrels. I heard that.
They won't catch squirrels.
They refuse to catch squirrels in the forest where they live.
Especially in the South.
At least in Utah, they'll eat a lot of squirrels. I can't really say for every place. I haven't done quite that extensive research or observation on that.
Right.
One thing I was really jealous of you, though, was I am so jealous of your house, your property, and how you're able to hack your goshawks.
Bro, I'm rich, bro. What can I say?
Money.
No,
money, dude.
No, I got a nice property, but my house is small. I got a small house.
Love it.
It's a real shit.
And I look forward to seeing you.
It's got good plumbing.
It's got good plumbing, but it's about to fall down. No, I got
the electric works really bad.
The electric is just like about to light on fire, but all the plumbing is top notch. That's all I got to say. No, I purposely moved out here.
I'm excited to see you hack your next goshawk out there. I loved seeing that last season, and I'm excited to see it again.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I live in a rural neighborhood. It's still a neighborhood, but my closest neighbor is 100 yards from me, which is nice. And I got 4 acres that go straight back into the woods, and then the other neighbors have all their acres that go back. So I have this huge patch of woods behind my house. So the bird can hack back there. I mean, they still get in trouble. Like my Tiercel 3 years ago ended up on some group on Facebook. Whose bird is this? And you just see it on someone's balcony, looking at itself,
screaming.
It was just looking at itself in the mirror, in the reflection on the sliding glass window, upside down.
That's cool.
So they still get in trouble, but it's good.
Because my neighborhood is packed. It's packed. It's an HOA, and the only thick trees is literally my backyard and maybe 3 neighbors down.
Right.
all have these stick trees. And I started with the first 2 weeks of the hack, literally hacking it in my backyard.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was so nervous because during that time it was already getting to like 110 degrees. And I would try to have it hack in the morning and then try to go as long as I could. And then my birds started getting too close to like neighbors' dogs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, my bird's gonna die out there.
Yeah, it's a problem. Like in like most
Yeah.
people where they live, it's like you can start the hack in your neighborhood, but yeah, eventually the bird's it's gonna start ranging. Like I know that my hack ends when in my neighborhood when the bird's like a mile away from my house. But that's like a risk that you really shouldn't wait until it gets to that point because that's when bad things can happen. And I'm sure I wish I could put a camera on my bird because I remember I went and found that one bird, the Tiercel, and I found him like a mile from my house in a tree down this train tracks, like behind this farm. And he was so sketched out. He wouldn't come down. And I'm like, what happened to you? He was all wet too. And I'm like, what happened?
Like maybe a fox or something chased him.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he tried to grab a duck in the water and got beat up. Like he was all wet. He wouldn't come down. I had to like damn near cast him to get back to the truck. Like the hack was over. You know what I mean? But listen, I'm doing a very hard segue. But if you're not interested in flying a goshawk or a harrishawk or a redtail, you could go out and get a specific permit to fly a greyhawk.
I can, but I was going to bring up why I wanted to bring up.
Bring it up.
Because trying to think. Before we move on to that, when I stopped the hack with her,
yeah,
I actually flew her in the State Farm Stadium and did the second part of the hack.
Oh, yeah, we have to touch on that.
You wanted me to talk about that.
We have to touch on that because I don't think
me to bring up.
I'll set it up. I'll set it up for you, and then you can close it. So this is probably the first time that anyone in the history of falconry, maybe like the Coliseum,
I don't know,
but they hacked a bird in a legitimate, giant, huge stadium. Can you tell us about that? Yeah, to be honest with you, it slipped my mind. That is so cool.
Into it for you.
You took my segue and you reworked my segue. We'll get into the other bird later. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, so as luck would have it, I like originally when I first got this bird, I put her on the abatement license right away.
Yeah,
I was like, let's just do that so that I could like take her to work with me, and then I don't have to stress about, like the bird being associated with the work truck or anything like that. So,
right.
But we got lucky and we got this job at our local stadium. This whole stadium is air conditioned. It's so nice, and we got to start work on it about 2 weeks into her hack, and I'm like, this is perfect. Let's bring her to the stadium. So brought her in the stadium, and we hacked her for another 2 weeks in there.
That's crazy.
And she would be in there for about 7 to 10 hours at a time. And what was really nice is she would go up into like the rafters, and we were shooting pigeons with the air guns inside. And as she would move around and scream, the pigeons would get nervous, move around, then we could see him shoot the pigeons. She was like, she wouldn't go after him. No, they would just drop. She's like, what the is that?
Right.
She didn't care. And so we were able to pretty much get the entire place free of pigeons without having like if I used a Harris hawk, that Harris hawk would have gone after the first pigeon that dropped. And then it would have taken me forever to find him. But she just kept flying around and screaming the whole time.
She was like stirring. She was like flushing getting everything moving, and then you could take shots.
Yeah, it was really nice. So it's like she was a flushing dog.
That's as
that was kind of cool.
Hanging out behind you, looking at you upside down.
Yeah, she still gives me the
super calm. Down. I love when they do that.
Yeah, so I did want to mention that we did get to do half of the hack in the stadium, and that was a really cool thing to do because it was like 115 at the time, and to have her in that nice air conditioned stadium really reduced the amount of stress I had with hacking this bird.
Yeah, I don't have to deal with that. I mean, it was like almost 100 today, but it doesn't usually get quite as hot as you guys out there. So yeah, I don't know if I'd want to hack a goshawk in 115 degrees. I mean, that's sketchy. You know what I mean?
In the morning it's like 90 to 95. And so you kind of go until it breaks 105. And then you're like, let's call you in.
That's nuts, man. Yeah. That's a different world out there.
Yeah. The problem is it doesn't cool off very well at night. So
right.
So you could be out at 10 o'clock at night and it's still 101 to 105 degrees. And you're just sweating like crazy because the sun's no longer evaporating your sweat.
Right.
So you just get wet.
Aaron, it gets pretty hot down by you though. Does it get that hot? No.
It was 99 degrees today, but it's super humid. So the sweat doesn't evaporate.
You just get soaked with sweat.
Yeah.
So 2 levels of uncomfortability.
Yeah.
I don't know what's worse.
Wet.
I don't know if the West is worse or the South. I really don't know because I've been in both places and the sun is super intense out west.
Yeah.
It's
right here, it's like I still I think would rather be in 100 degrees with 100% humidity than like 115 degrees and no humidity.
I've never experienced 115.
Yeah, 115
and it gets up over 120 a few times. So,
jeez, dude, that's crazy. What's the winters like? When you're out hawking in the winter, what's it like?
Usually about 60 degrees is pretty average, but like 75 is pretty normal too.
Oh my God.
In the mornings, it's normally hitting about 50 to 55 degrees.
Dude, I sweat when I stand still, so I probably wouldn't survive out there. I would just die. I'm meant to be in cold climates. I can't handle that heat, man. I'm also pretty
it's
juicy these days.
Getting into. So like, what's kind of a challenge is like during the summer, everybody's inside. For you, it's the opposite. During the summer, everyone's outside.
Right.
So when the winter hits, everybody's outside and everybody's hiking. And now I'm trying to go out hawking. And even if I try going into kind of a more deserty area, it's like people are walking their dogs and hiking through stuff. So it can be a struggle to find an area that's not too crowded.
That's a really good point. I never really thought of that. That out west, when it gets winter, people are out more. And here, there's like nobody. I mean, there's always somebody around, right? As we know, right, Aaron? It was snowing, 15 degrees. I pull my bird out and some random person walks out and they're just standing there pretending like it's like clockwork. It's like they're NPCs. They just appear and just walking around doing nothing. I'm like, just keep walk. I think I told the story on the pod. I watched the lady walk around. It was like a 15-foot diameter little sidewalk that went around like this monument in this park. There was like 50 ducks in this pond. And I'm sitting there watching the sun go down. And I remember I took my phone out because it took so long for this person. I put my phone on time lapse and put it in my rearview mirror, my side mirror. And I watched this person walk around this monument of 15 diameter, around in circles like 100 times. I'm like, what are you doing?
NPC in Grand Theft Auto or something.
It was literally like an NPC. I'm like, this is a simulation. Like, I want to catch the ducks. Who is this person?
Like, am I in a Truman Show?
I'm like, what is this person doing? Like, they know that I'm here to do something. And it's like they're trying to pretend to do something to see what I'm up to. Just around. I'm like, just move, man.
My blood's
People
boiling.
just stare at me. I've stopped kind of caring. I flush the rabbit. Catch the rabbit with people watching.
Yeah, because what else are you going to do? You're going to spend 4 hours waiting for them to just like wander off?
They're just like, whoa, cool, he's got a big bird.
Yeah.
Or they're pissed off that my dogs are off leash. Like,
your dogs are off leash. Yeah, I had a lady yell at me and my dog, she had a pit bull on the leash and we're walking and the pit bull is like going ballistic trying to kill my dog. And she's like getting dragged down the trail. And Ginger walks out and stands there. And then I called her over. She sat right at my feet. And the lady's like, that dog needs to be on a leash as she's getting like dragged by her pit bull. I'm like, oh, really? I don't think so. I think my dog is under pretty good control. I think you're the one that needs to put that thing to freaking sleep or something. Because whatever. It drives me nuts. I'm sure a lot of dog owners out there.
What's way more scary than an unleashed dog are the freaking coyotes out there, man. I've caught coyotes stalking my dogs at least once a week.
Yeah, that's a
being
good
out there.
point. You told me
It's
that.
scary.
That's a different world out there. I mean, I'm sure we probably have it out here. We just don't see the coyotes.
I see them literally stalking my dog, like, and I'm like, get back! I'm like clicking the the e-collar,
Yeah.
get back here. And then the lurcher I had, he would sometimes chase the coyotes, and I'm like, is he going after a jackrabbit? I'm trying to look, and then a coyote runs across the wash. I'm like, oh, get back here! Like,
Yeah,
guy's probably leading them right to a pack, you know.
sounds like you need like a big lurcher out there and kill some of those
nice,
coyotes.
but having his size was nice just because of his good speed, and then he's able to get underneath the brush well enough.
Yeah, he wasn't huge. He was like a perfect size out for what you're. Because if you ran a dachshund out there, like it would, and Tyler's talked about that, it would probably just get. It would be
I'll
coyote.
get valley fever or just get eaten by a coyote.
Yeah, it probably would.
I'm currently dealing with the dog I have right now has valley fever. It's like mammal aspergillosis. It's a fungus in the lungs.
Jeez.
And it's in your lungs. So
that.
it really only happens here in Arizona, a few parts of New Mexico. And humans can get it, dogs can get it, and it usually happens if your dog is like digging in the dirt, or maybe like right if you take them out while it's raining, sometimes they can get it. And so we're dealing with that, and it just takes forever to get it out of their system. It takes so long.
Pine needles, bro.
You need to
Make a
sleep
bed
on
of
a
pine
bed of
needles
pine
for my
needles.
dog.
Yeah, dude, it'll work. It kills it.
That's weird. Never heard of that.
I didn't hear about it until you told me, Jason, about that.
Yeah.
That your dog was dealing with that.
I didn't know about it until my dog caught it. I had no idea what it was, so it was news to me as well.
Oh my God.
Rattlesnakes too.
Crazy.
Dachshund
Actually, I have yet to see a rattlesnake. I've been here 2 years and I've yet to see a rattlesnake.
You don't see any other kind of snakes? What do you see anything?
I see gopher snakes, and all I've seen so far are gopher snakes. That's it.
I'd be so excited to see a gopher snake. I love those snakes.
I catch them every time.
That's so cool. Yeah, I love that.
I love catching them. Gopher snakes are funny. You might get one good nip out of them. They might bite you one time, and then they calm down, and then they're like your buddy.
Yeah,
like they mellow out so fast. They're really cool.
Is that the same as a bull snake, or they're two different?
Yeah, it's the same species. It's
Same
just
thing.
I think
Situosis.
there's a few people that it's just another common name. I mean, if you just called it if somebody called it the gopher danger noodle, they could call it that if they wanted. Like the common name.
There's bull snakes are a more eastern, like Great Plains
I think
species.
they refer to them more.
Gopher snakes are. I think you would have gopher snakes there, and they would have bull snakes out in like Kansas.
But in Montana, they'll call them bull snakes and gopher snakes too. So it's just one of those common names. Depending on where you're from, they might call them different, but really they're the same species.
I know in California they have like rosy boas and stuff. Do you guys get those out there?
I don't know. I don't know too much about I haven't really gone herping out here. I found a dead Gila monster once, though. That was cool.
Aaron has one.
Oh, that's rad.
I've got a beaded lizard.
Beaded lizard. Dude, they're even bigger. That's cool.
Oh, those are from South America, right?
Central America.
Mexico.
Okay. That's what I just said.
They call them the Mexican beaded lizard.
Actually, it's not South America. It's Central America.
Well, Mexico's North America, right?
I said South America.
No. I mean, it's
Mexico. I've always considered Mexico being like Central America.
Same fucking place, okay?
So a beaded lizard and a Gila monster are two different.
They're both in the Heloderma family.
Yeah, they're closely related, but they're different species.
They could probably crossbreed, honestly.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
You ever get bit by yours, Aaron?
No, thank God. Beaded lizards are about twice as long as Gila monsters. Is their venom more potent? I don't think so. No, I think they're
about the same.
They can deliver more, I would assume, but I don't think anyone's ever died from a Heloderma bite.
Can you die from it?
I don't think anyone ever has.
It just hurts like hell.
If you had an allergic reaction, you could die from it. But
that's like a hognose. I bred hognoses, and they're technically right. They have some sort of.
There's a rear fang venomous.
They got to chew on you.
I had mangrove snakes that were also rear fang venomous.
Those are so cool, and they're rear fang. They got to chew on you for a little while to get you.
A little bit normally. So.
Yeah. All right, so let's get in. I want to get into this. I want to get into this Greyhawk.
All right,
As you die of tuberculosis on air.
Valley fever. He's got valley
got
fever.
valley fever.
I got valley fever now. So, in the state of Arizona, I believe it's the only state that allows the take of a gray hawk. Gray hawk is only really found in is mostly found in Arizona when you're talking about the United States, but you can still find them in New Mexico and Texas, but not as many.
Okay.
They typically will migrate down into Mexico during the winter, and then they migrate up here into Arizona to breed and nest. There are probably still some just below the border. There's some overlap there, but they kind of stop right in there and they breed. And I think it was 3 years ago, they were on kind of the falconry ban list. Like you can't. It was illegal to get one, to fly one for falconry. It was just illegal. Well, 3 years ago, they opened it up so that you can apply for a draw, and then they'll allow one take a year. And I applied for that draw, applied for the 2024 draw, and I happened to win it.
Nice.
And so I got to climb a tree and pull a greyhawk. You guys want to see her? See him?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
You want to see? Yeah.
Yes.
Here, I'll go get it. Wait one moment.
Okay.
So I kind of got my back up against the goshawk, so the goshawk doesn't try to jump at him. But
Dude, that bird's face is hilarious.
they got a boxier face.
And they're just like
Really
they just like pissed off all the time.
Yeah. Well, I think what's really kind of cool with them too is they're not as afraid of getting picked up as like
as a goshawk is.
Yeah.
Look at
There
that
he
thing. Oh.
This is a gray hawk. We are guessing about 20 days old now. I don't know the exact day it hatched, but I did take the smallest one in the nest, and that was the one that wasn't showing fear. The other three were like up on their butt with the wings out, mouth open and everything.
Yeah, you told me that. So I think that was a good decision to take the younger one that had zero fear, even though it was the smallest one in the nest, which was good anyway from a moral standpoint.
Yeah. Well, it's going to give this bird a better chance because it's likely going to get overshadowed by its stronger, more demanding siblings. It's also the one that's more likely going to accidentally get bumped out of the nest.
Yeah.
So now the parents that with the other hawks, they can with the other babies, they only have 2 mouths to feed. So those 2 babies there are going to have a higher chance of making it through, and this one's going to have a better chance at making it through.
The bird just looks so inconvenienced. It's so
he's like
funny.
Staring right at you too.
Funny looking. He's really funny looking.
It is funny looking. So you think that that's 20 days old?
So, yeah, roughly.
So if I saw a goshawk that age, I would think it was almost as old as mine, which is like 15 days old, which is. But it's hard to tell, right?
It is really hard to tell.
It's so hard to tell.
And I also don't know enough on how quickly this species develops. So I don't know for sure. I just know that when the female on the nest stopped sitting on the nest constantly, I kind of was like, okay, maybe they hatched like 4 days before that.
Oh, so you're making a rough.
I'm kind of making a rough estimate, and then so it's like, yeah, maybe 20 days, like ish, like so.
Yeah,
I don't know for sure, but I know I at least pulled him young enough to where he didn't show fear.
Perfect.
So, and that's normally somewhere around 10 to, it could be up to about 16 days mark. So,
yeah. I also think it depends on how you pull them.
Yeah, that can happen.
If you're grabbing them and but if you're real gentle and you pull. But so so you
I
tell us a story.
Gentle. I had to come down like a claw and get him. I couldn't figure out how to scoop.
Yeah, talk us through that, please. I want to hear that story. How did you find the nest?
So
you climbed it yourself. Tell us. I want to hear the story. Please.
So I kind of got a tip from somebody who does bird photography that there's a nest in this canyon. And so we went out looking for nests, looking for greyhawks, and eventually I did find 4 nests. So I found a decent amount of nests. But this one was the first one we located, and it wasn't that high. It was maybe 45 feet up. The other ones were like 75, 100 feet up in the most giant cottonwood trees I've ever seen.
God.
And so I'm like, if I'm going to pull from one of them, it's going to be this one. He's probably hungry. And so I was like, okay, let's let's pull from this nest. And right when we finally saw a little head kind of poking out of the nest, I scheduled a time with my friend who's he's a bow hunter, very good shot with the bow. Practices every time I go over his house, he's out there shooting a bow target.
Nice.
So he's a really good shot. And we went out there and we took some paracord, tied it to his bow, and then tied it to his arrow. And then he shot the arrow over the branch that was right below the nest. And then we used that paracord to pull over a rope, like a climbing rope.
Okay.
And then I got harnessed up, put on a belay device called a gree, and then a hand descender that you can actually attach to like a loop that you can put your foot through. And I was able to use that to straight up ascend a single rope. Straight up.
Oh, okay. So you didn't spike it.
No, I didn't use any spikes. I literally just climbed up a single rope going up the tree. Because this tree was like, it's all crooked. It's like off to the side as it goes up.
Right.
And climbing it, trying to do like with goshawks, they're always in pine trees. You could like wrap a line around it, attach it to your harness, and then you're doing the spikes when you climb up, take 2 steps up with your feet, and then you swing the rope kind of up around the tree to get a little height, take 2 steps, swing,
Yeah.
I mean, there's more than one way to do it, but yeah, I had to pretty much do all just a straight up rope ascension. Once I got to that spot where the rope was put over, I had to then feed the rope to a higher point so that I can secure myself and then get the rest of the way up.
Jeez, that sounds sketchy.
So thankfully, I did a lot of rock climbing in high school, and I had all the proper gear. So
Nice.
I was able to attach myself to multiple times and keep myself safe there. I had all the equipment already and the experience to make it work. So, my friend who was down below helped keep my the blade device. He helped keep that tight. So we worked a system. So all he had to do was pull on the rope under me, and it would move mine up. So that I could take a step. I could like go up the rope, and then he would pull the rope back down, and it would move my blade device up the rope.
So he was belaying you essentially.
Kind of. He was belaying me in not properly, but kind of like he was belaying. So he was helping me get up the rope.
How high were you?
It was about 45 feet up. So
still die or get paralyzed for the rest of your life.
Yeah, for sure. And so once I got up there, like I could see one of them looking down at me. He just had his like head sitting on the nest, and he's just staring at me as I'm climbing up. Just not even. I'm like, is this bird dead? like I'm like, hey, this bird does not look good. Like, what's happening? I'm thinking this bird should be reacting,
right?
And so then I finally poke my head up, and both the birds just like 2 of the birds instantly wings out, and one of them just had its mouth open, and they looked scared. And then the female comes in, tries to dive bomb me a couple times, and then from the bottom, we just used the end of the rope to rope up. Like I just brought a cooler, and pull up the cooler. Kind of took a good look at him, and I'm like, you know what? I'll take the baby, the one that looks the youngest. I'll take the smallest one and put him in the cooler. Gently lowered that back down to my friend, and then I just rappelled myself down. So I was able to use the same belay device to rappel myself down from there.
So cool.
Good. Yeah, it was such a neat experience, and that was the first IS I've ever pulled.
Congratulations, man! That's a beautiful bird, and he's vocalizing, but there's zero fear there. I mean, he's looking to get fed right now. He's preening while you're touching him. He's giving the upside down look. Can you describe for the audience what a greyhawk is? I mean, I'm sure you can Google it and see what they look like, but you know a little more.
As adults, they are gray. Of course, they've got this beautiful thick white band on their tail. They're not that big. The females tend to be close to 700 grams, while the males are close to 400 or 500 grams.
Okay.
I don't quote me on that though, because I don't think there have been that many greyhawks in captivity to be able to, weigh them and know that that's definitely true.
Right.
So we're still kind of in this experimental age, and there's hardly any of these in captivity, to the point where I believe I am the only falconer in the United States with one right now.
That is so cool.
That's pretty crazy to say. That I'm the only one who has the species. I think there's one educational facility that has a greyhawk. I kind of want to call them and ask if they still have it, or if where it is and if it's still alive. Because if that bird isn't around anymore, then I have the only one. I have the only greyhawk in the United States.
So now, what are your plans? Because you filled me in last year, because I remember you were talking about it, that it might be an option for you where you live, and this and that. And you described the bird as kind of like it's like a redtail, kind of, but somewhere in the middle, maybe like a goshawk as well, with the way they fly and move. And guys in Mexico fly them, right? You were telling me.
I've been able to contact 2 guys in Mexico who fly them. They say that their personality is kind of like a skittish redtail, is what they're telling me.
Perfect.
But they're not as successful as a redtail. They're not as gamey as a redtail, but they are more gamey than red-shouldered hawks.
Okay.
So, and they do catch. They've caught. It might, dude. I don't know what to expect. Like, I could have just a lizard catching, like, bird here. All he wants to catch are lizard snakes.
I mean, those feet on him,
they're not that big. So the feet aren't that big. They might grow a bit more. We're gonna see.
I mean, he's bigger. He looks bigger than a Cooper's hawk. I mean,
he might be his adult size. Like, if this one's a male, which we think he is.
Look at him preening. He's so cool.
He might be. He might weigh roughly the same weight as like a female.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a chance he could catch cottontail. There's a chance he could catch quail. If we can't do either of those, maybe we'll go for pigeons or starlings. I mean, I'll give anything a try. Introduce them to we'll put a lot of game in front of them and try to figure out what clicks. We're going to devote most of our early energy, of course, into rabbits, because I know I can get lots of rabbits right in front of them.
Yeah.
So we will go for that really hard right at the beginning. If that's not working out, try the next thing. If that's not really working out, try the next. So,
good plan.
And if not, you know what? He might just not really want to catch anything, and I'll just keep him for the novelty of having a greyhawk.
Euthanize him.
What would be?
That's what I would do.
What you would do.
No, he's gonna kill. He's gonna kill something. You just got to figure out what he's gonna kill.
Yeah, he might only kill lizards. Because in the nest, what's interesting is in the nest, the babies are fed almost exclusively snakes.
You need to put some rabbit carcasses in that nest bowl.
I have been. So.
Perfect.
And he'll grab them. He'll actually bind to it and like pluck at it. So
he's standing. He's standing and binding already.
Yeah, he's binding and trying to pluck.
Okay, so then his body.
So then have good strength.
He's probably done growing, I would imagine. So those feet are the size that they're going to be, and gonna.
Yeah, he's probably close to his max size. That's why I also think he's a male. But then again, there's still, I don't know, everything about him yet. We're still learning. So
we're learning together. He's so cool, preening right now. What'd you name him?
I named him Cloud.
Cloud?
Yeah, Cloud.
That's cool. That's
from
awesome.
Fantasy.
Yep, Final Fantasy.
Are you a game, Aaron? You're a gamer too.
Cloud's. I mean, I was when I was a teenager. Cloud's been around a while.
Yeah. When did that game come out? 80s, late 80s, early 90s,
90s,
90s, early 90s. It was the first Final Fantasy game I ever played. Final Fantasy 7.
You guys are losing me here.
Yeah.
We're engaging the real houndsmen right now. They're big Final Fantasy players.
And Falconers.
Just wait until you try to have a conversation with somebody talking about anime. They'll be even more lost.
Dude, that bird looks like an anime character with his like aggressive, inconvenienced looking face. He's so funny looking. He's so cool, man.
Yeah, he's like super chill.
Yeah, he loves to get scratched.
See if he'll let me.
He's so cool, man.
See if you let. No, I can't do it with one hand.
I hope you're successful with him. That's really cool.
If I can be successful, that'll be even cooler. If not, then it's fun to just have a Greyhawk.
So, oh yeah, so
goal
neat.
And from the start is to get him to catch game, and if it doesn't work out the first season, we're still going to try again in the second. So I'm not going to give up after it. If it doesn't work in the first, I'm not going to.
It's going to work, Jason. Just you're going to make it work.
I'm trying to set the right expectations here. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. You're being realistic.
If it doesn't work, I'm trying to be as realistic as I can.
Yeah.
So, but he is super.
No, he is cool, man. He's super neat, dude. So you are breaking ground in a few different areas. You're the first to hack a goshawk in a stadium that we know of, and you're
also if anybody's hacked any bird in a stadium here in the United States, dude, let us know. I want to hear the story.
Yeah, so do we. Message us. Let us know. And now you got. I mean, other people have flown Greyhawks, but
there is one other person here in Arizona that did get their Greyhawk, but it flew off on them. So I don't know why it wasn't wearing telemetry, or if the telemetry failed. I have no clue. That's all the context I have.
Yeah, it's all right. We're not going to have that with this bird. We're gonna. That's awesome, man. I'm so happy for you. That's so neat, and it's cool that you climbed your own nest, which is also super neat because I'm a coward and afraid of heights, and it's cool that you climbed your own nest and you pulled your own bird.
I'm kind of afraid of heights too, but once you get up there, there's so many branches and leaves underneath. It doesn't feel like you're that up high because all my peripherals blocked by leaves. So
got it. So like I could grab that
really
branch.
Not like get queasy or dizzy or anything up there. It was nice.
Yeah, because I never climbed the nest, but I put cameras on my buddies when they climb, and it's just a straight drop, like 40, 50 feet down to the ground, like just a straight shot. Like you're done.
As I'm like rappelling too, my device could just like slide out too fast, and I just
you're done.
Like, oh, that's terrible. But,
yeah, man. Congratulations, man, on that bird.
Just because the day we showed up, apparently this spot started to become a popular birding spot right before we were gonna pull.
Perfect.
And we're like, oh no. Is there going to be people there? I really hope there's not people there. And when we finally went, there was like one birder there. And she watched the nest, was looking for the Greyhawks. She left. And we're like, go, 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 go. And the whole time we were like climbing and doing everything, not a soul showed up. So we lucked out.
Good for you, man.
I didn't have to deal with trying to explain any of that stuff. So
now that's a good question. Is there protections? Because obviously if you're engaging in a hunting activity, you can't be, harassed. I wonder if pulling a bird as falconers, are we under the same protection where we can't be harassed?
We would have to be because we are, they might be allowed to harass or heckle or whatever, but like they can't physically, for them to take the bird away from me or try to, take the sack or something like that, that the bird's in, that would be illegal for them to do for sure. It would be illegal. It would be illegal for them to try and stop us.
I can't see a birder winning that altercation with a falconer.
And thankfully, I had like another person there with me,
so. And he's got a bow and arrow too.
And I was trying to like get as many people to come with me as we can because I was like, I want to outnumber any amount of birders that happen to show up. Yeah. And honestly, I didn't even need to be worried about that at all. Nobody was there.
For every camera, you need at least 2 falconers to put defense on.
Yeah, exactly right. So if you want to see the video, I'll after I notice this goes live, I'll upload the video to my Instagram and TikTok so you guys can check that out. I recently rebranded, so I'm now Tooth and Talon.
Yeah, and every time you message me or anything, it says beware of scams.
Really?
Yes. When somebody changes their profile picture, it flags them for some reason.
Their name?
Yeah, it flags them because they think it's like, and it will tell you this person changed their profile picture. Beware of scams and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. Have you noticed?
Don't do that too often.
Yeah, we just changed our profile picture to our official logo, which we just had made up. So,
which I like. It looks super cool.
Yeah, that artist is great. Aaron kind of put all that together. I had nothing to really do with it other than saying thumbs up. Let's post. Let's do it.
That's rad.
But Jason, is there anything else we need to cover with you before we wrap this up?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, we covered a lot on this episode.
Yeah, we talked forever.
This was a fun episode. So now where can everybody find you? Where can they find where, if you want to plug the business you work for, your personal page, share all that.
Yeah. So if you want to find my falconry content, you can look up Tooth and Talon. On Instagram, it's going to be Tooth and Talon USA. I think it was already taken.
Right.
So you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on TikTok. Don't know how much longer we'll last on TikTok. We could get banned tomorrow. You never know.
Right.
So, but, screw TikTok. Just follow me on the other two platforms.
Agreed.
And then if you want to follow the other content I'm making for work, you can find us at Desert Kings Falconry. We got a YouTube going and the Instagram's going. Our YouTube just barely hit 100,000 subscribers.
Nice.
And then our Instagram is like 350,000 followers. It's the largest abatement account on both platforms. So
yeah, it's huge.
It's pretty insane. I think if we wanted to even stretch it a little farther and say for YouTube, we are the second largest falconry related channel on YouTube.
Besides me, right?
No, not you.
I think that's Gamekeeper Dachshunds.
Yeah.
It's Jones that's like top now.
Yeah, Jones is killing it.
Dude, he's doing awesome.
Yeah, both of you guys are doing great, man. A lot of education.
Great. So the work account's doing way, way, way better than my personal falconry stuff. I think it's just because there's a little bit of shock value in there with catching pigeons with flashlights and stuff.
Yeah, so, it's super cool.
Yeah, it's a bit strange when you first see it. So
yeah, it makes you stop and watch. And what the heck is going on here? Flashlight, birds, feathers everywhere. It's great.
It's so much fun. If you're ever out here in Arizona, we'll take you out. It's actually really fun.
My cousins live in Arizona. I may have to take you up on that.
Yeah, we'll take you out. We'll catch some pigeons at night, dogs.
Yeah, man.
Then show you some of these desert rabbits and how they're so much more fun than yours.
They're smaller too, aren't they?
I don't know.
We got some big ones out here, man.
Yeah, the jackrabbits out here are gigantic. They're huge. But the cottontails seem to be the average cottontail size to me.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know weights, so I can't really speak on it. They just look smaller in all the videos. They just look like smaller rabbits. I don't know.
Might be.
I don't know if that makes sense. I know the Cooper's hawks and stuff like that are a little smaller out by you than compared to here.
I actually saw a Cooper's hawk catch one of the cottontails out here.
Really?
So yeah. So it was a cottontail that my dog flushed. And I felt really bad because then my goshawk went on it and stole the rabbit.
That sucks.
Still counts.
Still counts.
Counts.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, so that was kind of funny. And it got me thinking, it's pretty cool how even wild birds will take advantage of me walking through and my dog flushing game. My dog was flushing rabbits and a redtail came out and started chasing rabbits too. A wild redtail.
Yeah, even out east we get that every now and then. You'll get a redtail join the hunt for a few minutes. They never really bind to anything, but they'll chase with your bird and then pull off and I mean, that falconry is a naturally occurring thing in nature. It really is. Birds of prey will use whatever they can to get an advantage on the quarry that they're chasing, and that's why it works so well.
I don't think most people notice. They're too busy looking down. They don't look up enough.
They're on the damn phones, right?
Get off your phone, boy.
Yeah.
One time I was launching quail for my first goshawk, and a Cooper's hawk came in, and he was kind of cautious about the whole deal. But when the goshawk was down on a quail, I reached in my bag and tossed one for him, and he snatched it and flew away.
That's so cool, man. Yeah, if I have wild birds that come in like redtails, I will always try to throw them some scraps or leave them something to help them out.
I've done that with the Harris hawks here. I think I messaged you about the one Harris hawk I saw that messed up face.
Yeah, what do you think happened to that bird?
I don't know. Like maybe she got hit by a car or something. Like
it looked like Two-Face, that bird.
Dude, the other side was perfect, looked beautiful, and the side was like just nasty.
Yeah.
and I tossed it a dove, um, the rest of the dove that my bird was eating, and it took it. So I'm like, before it was hanging out with another male, so it was probably benefiting off of whatever the group was catching.
Yeah,
And
that was a
hopefully she'll heal at some point. But man, that bird was messed up. But
that
it's
was
kind of cool that
a good point that you made there when we had that conversation, was that it's interesting that Harris hawks could have an injury like that and they could still survive because they work in a group and they could survive off of the other's success, which is super interesting and unique to Harris hawks specifically,
Yeah, I mean, I even threw a dude. This is one more story for you. It's not as related to falconry though. I was out on working on a golf course, and I had one of our hawks with me, and that hawk had caught a few starlings that day and a collar dove. And I was driving along, and I happened to see this bobcat and coyote chasing each other around on the course.
What?
Almost looked like they were playing. Yeah. Probably wasn't playing. I bet you the cat was annoyed and the coyote was having a great time.
Yeah.
So I kind of came up to them. They kind of both stopped, start staring at me. And the bobcat starts walking up to me, and I'm like, I wonder. So I reach in, grab a starling, and I toss it a starling. Sniffs it, turns around, starts walking away. And I'm like, wait, pull out the dove, the collar dove. And I toss the collar dove, turns around, comes over to the collar dove, picks it up. It's like maybe 15 feet, like 10 or 15 feet from it.
No way.
Picks up this collar dove and just walks into the brush. And then the coyote comes up,
grabs the starling.
up, he sniffs the starling, he looks where the direction the bobcat went, and then I kid you not, he circles it, squats, takes a big old dump on my starling.
He'd say, keep your starling. I don't want this thing. That's a great story, man. That's cool.
So that was really cool. And then there have been like 3 other times where I've literally treed bobcats with my dogs.
Yes, I was going to say you said that. Yeah, and you sent me the video. That was a cool video.
Yeah, I got one of them on video. So that was insane. So then I just pulled the dogs off, and the cat flew off. All right.
Yeah. So cool, man. Awesome,
man.
That was
cool to see. I mean, the amount of wildlife here is incredible. Like it's a desert, but I have never seen so many wild animals anywhere in my life.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, falconers, we see some great stuff in the field like that all the time. We're constantly.
We're hashtag blessed.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. So I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason, for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was our pleasure, man. It was a great episode. We learned a lot, and we can't wait to. For me personally, I can't wait to see what you do with that gray hawk.